All right. Hello, folks. I hope this is working. Are we on? Are we... Hello? Are we here? Yep. Okay, there we go. We're good. Camera's on. Lights aren't. Hey, lights! Get on. Come on. Join the party. It's a good time. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. Those... Wait. There we go. All right. Lights are on. Camera's on. Stream is on. How y'all doing? Welcome. I've been struggling for the last like 40 minutes to try and get my camera to work. And as you can see, luckily, it's working. But I had to do like this whole for some reason, somebody tell me how this is even possible. Both me and Mrs. Tomato were just like, this doesn't make any sense. The camera's battery is sitting too low in the camera to make contact with the electrical connections to power the camera. So like, it's actually sitting down about a millimeter away from the contacts, so it basically doesn't work. I've only been able to get it to work by like shoving the cord up into the battery space, which I imagine isn't the best practice, but it's such a weird problem to have. I have no idea why it's happening like that. Can anybody explain? Do cameras just spontaneously stop working? Is that a thing? In this manner? I know they do other stupid things. But yeah, that's what I've been dealing with so far today. So welcome. Glad you could join me. At any point during this stream, just a heads up, the camera might go out. I have no idea what's going on with it, but it might just stop working. In that case, I'll try to switch to this one over here. Hold on. Wait for it. This one. Right here. That'll be the emergency. So if I can't get this one to stick with me, then we'll see. Bend the contacts out a bit. It's not like they're not like pogos. They're more like electrical tacos. If that the battery has the kind of pogo part, I guess, the part that sticks in. The other part is just kind of plastic, and then it goes into this little notch, this little electrical taco. But yeah, it's really weird. Video and audio is in sync. Look at that. How often does that happen here? Loved the Pyro Planet video. Superb as always. Thank you. I tried to drop that in time so that people could watch that and still make it to the stream. You know, wasn't planning for that or anything. Oh, Pungy. The Punge. Mr. Toes. What's up, Toes gang? Welcome. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for the sub, my dude. 15 months now. Wow. Have you been watching for 15 months? You remember when the first streams you came onto were? Was it that? That's crazy. Thank you. Thank you for all that. Duke Riggs, how you doing? Good to see you. Camera is suffering from middle-aged droop. Happens to the best of us. You know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's time for a new cam. I just got this camera like 2 years ago. I love this thing. This thing is it's got a special place. It was a gift from the parents at Christmas a couple years ago. And it was like the first sign that they were like on board with doing this stuff. So camera better last. If anything, I'll just get a new battery. I'm also thinking we do music a little more interesting than this. Something a little more catchy, a little more finger snappy, hand clappy, foot tappy. No little plastic guide got broke on the camera battery. No, the camera hasn't moved since the stream on Monday. I've literally not even interacted with it since the stream on Monday. Just happened. Just did it. 15 months ago, we were living at the farm still. Yeah. Jeez. That was another time. Afternoon for me, yeah. Good morning to you though, operator. What time is it? Is it where you are? Let's see. Where are we looking? Trying to find the Star Citizen channel. We're gonna go over a couple of these CitizenCon panels today. I think the more interesting two, the speed changes and the resource management changes, which were both definitely big time gameplay switch ups. Not switch ups, but updates, I guess. These are things that we've known were going to happen. And now we get to see how they're doing them. In fact, the power play one is arguably about as informative as the ISC we got a couple years ago, but we do get more solidified details in it. But it's just kind of funny to see that I thought they'd have more in-game UI done for that. By the way, folks, we may be doing a CitizenCon review today, but it is still Wednesday, which means Q&A. So that link is going to be dropping in chat every once in a while. If you have a question you want to ask that we can go into depth on and answer with, I will get to all those questions after these two CitizenCon panels are over. So about an hour and a half into this stream, we'll just start going through questions and talking about what you want to talk about. So make sure to hit that question form link, whatever you want to call it, and submit. Add a little square of aluminum foil to the end of the battery to make it fit tight. That's fair. I could do that. I did that same thing with the cord. So I guess I could just replace it with some aluminum foil if that works better. Or is that going to explode? You trying to make me explode? I'm on to you. 8 a.m. over in Utah. You on the West Coast? Are you PST in Utah? Or is that Central? I guess if you're 8 a.m., that would be Central. Okay, yeah. Howdy, Cotton. How you doing? Gonna have another podcast with Enterprise? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm hitting up Enterprise. Had a great time chatting with him. I think he's got a lot of good stuff to say. So he'll be coming on again, probably on the launch sequence. Little one-on-one. Tim Stone, manufacturers used to make foam rubber to stabilize batteries. Whatever happened to the good old days? Give me more foam rubber. You liked the Morph podcast? Oh, it was great. I didn't even realize how long we were going. That's the first episode we've ever had to split. Besides like episode 3, I think it was. 3 and 4 were both from the same conversation about E3, but yeah, CitizenCon this year gave us a lot to talk about. Can I put a Q&A on stream title, please? Sure. I can do that. Q&A on YouTube. And Q&A on Twitch. There we go. Now everybody is better informed. Happy for them. Real happy. 10 a.m. over on the East Coast, 7 in Reno. The US and their time zones. MST. Okay. That's the one that I never remember. Thank you for reminding me of it. Just watched the Planet video, so looking forward to the videos made from those detailed reviews. Yeah. Next video is going to be actually on the video we're going to watch right now. I'm going to do a little updater on resource management, what it means, why it means, how it means, where it means. So writing the script for that one now. Hopefully I'll be done with it by Saturday. But I'm also kind of trying to work on the monthly report at the same time. So we'll see how it goes. Can't promise anything because who knows? Just all kinds of stuff happens in our life. Speaking of which, we got in a car crash yesterday. There's a little update for you, a little life update. It was Mrs. Tomato's first. Yay, congratulations, good for you. She's okay, we're all okay. Everybody's safe, it's all good. It was just a fender bender. Not making light of a bad situation. Witch Space, thank you, by the way, for the sub. But yeah, it was, we had ourselves a little fender bender yesterday. We were just sitting at a light, red light, nothing really special. And then just whack, right in the back of our car. Like, out of nowhere. And this woman hit us. Honestly, I thought she hit us harder than the damage would have you think. So that was very nice that nobody was injured and the damage wasn't too bad to either car. But the whole ordeal of getting it figured out was just so ridiculous. So obviously I still don't speak fluent Turkish. I speak kinda Turkish. And so we get out of the car. It's like we're trying to work with the lady on like all the details, insurance and everything. And then like at some point this random dude gets out of his truck at the light and comes over and starts like getting way too close to my wife and speaking loudly. And so I'm like, so we're like, okay, relax, go back to your truck. And then at another point, these two dudes from like across the street decide to cross the street, come over and start talking to us about our car crash. We're like, all right, leave please. And then like there are people leaning out of their car and calling things out, and like all this time I was just like, I don't know what any of you are saying. Just be on with your day. we're just trying to get some insurance stuff and leave. Apparently this one person said to Mrs. Tomato, why were you stopped? As we stand there in an intersection where there is a stoplight. Just like these people. Then when I say these people, I don't mean Turkish people. I mean these people who like know no bounds as to what is their what's their business, right? Like you get in a car crash, you don't want 10 people to come over and start talking to you about it. But yeah, so that happened. That was while we were actually doing some registration stuff. And that was our exciting story for the week. I hope that better be the exciting story for the week, you know? It is quite Turkish, yes. I don't know about other cultures of the Middle East, but it is definitely a Turkish thing to be like, hey, what's going on? What's up? How you doing? What are you up to? At least from afar. Yeah, it can definitely leave psychological trauma, but it was just a small little fender bender. I've definitely been in worse crashes than that. Not a Turkish taxi. No. See, the taxis never hit anybody. They might be crazy drivers, but they know how to escape a crash. Cue another bad driver conversation, right? I probably spawned it by complaining about it all. What was that, Monday, Saturday? One of these streams, I just kept talking about it. Manifested that. Everyone is an expert. This guy is like, why were you stopped? Like, dude, I don't know. Because we're supposed to. So ensure you both talk about it while having something nice to eat and drink. Oh, yeah. I mean, we were eating and drinking right afterward. We were on a very important errand. You know, the cat Curiosity killed. It was Turkish. There are a lot of cats in Turkey. Maybe they recognize you from YouTube. Imagine there's like a car crash. Somebody walks up. Hey, you're supposed to, what did you think of those skill changes they introduced at CitizenCon? Just like, what? Oh God, good times. That actually must be really annoying for people who are like actually famous. If quantum boost and map scanning are being developed now for use in Squadron 42, which is 2 years away, does that mean we won't see these features in SC earlier than 2 years? No, I don't think it means that, because the thing is, these things are going to have to be finished for Squadron 42 well before that game's release, right? So I would assume that they will get it into a reasonable state with Squadron 42, and then do whatever little things need to be done for that and push it over to what's it called? The persistent universe. I would say something like EVA 2.0 or V2, whatever they're calling it. That probably is going to need to be done for Squadron 42 pretty soon, because that's going to be pretty crucial to like actual missions, right? So I'm thinking EVA 2.0 maybe next year, because that's not even, I mean, this is something we've already been expecting for a while. EVA 2.0 has been on the progress tracker for a long time. In fact, they have the work done as marked as being finished in September. So EVA 2.0 is probably pretty far along, even though they're doing it for Squadron first. I would bet if they are at this point, like actually at this point with the feature, give it another quarter for Squadron polish maybe, and then another 2 quarters just to be safe coming into the PU. Like at the very earliest, we could say Q3 2023, that maybe for something like that. The other thing that probably is coming on pretty quickly, even though it's being made for Squadron, even if it's not polished like it would be for Squadron's release, this I think is another thing. What is it? This is another thing that I think is crucial to the game, to the point where they'd have it in a good place by now. And as you can see, they had plenty of work being done on this as well, finishing around this time. And I think mainly that's why they showed us some of that stuff, because that's stuff that has definitely been in the works for a long time. I mean, we've known FPS radar and scanning for as long as we've known regular radar and scanning. And they've been talking about it quite a bit in the monthly reports. Keep EVA push and pull, yeah. So I think for those two, I would expect them fairly soon. The ones that I'm not so sure about are the platforming, because all kinds of complications with that, right? The Mobi-Glass, because that's going to require all of the different overlays that we use in Star Citizen and not in Squadron 42. And what else was there? I know I'm missing something. Oh, the hover dolly. That's one that'll probably come in pretty early. Maybe she rear-ended us to get that selfie. She missed out on the selfie then, but got like pictures of the license and the license plate and insurance and all that. So I guess, you know, trade-offs. Quantum Boost, I bet, is also coming in pretty soon. I don't think it's on here, but holy crap, have we not heard all about it in the monthly reports for a while. So I don't know if I put money on it, but I bet this description changes to include Quantum Boost, which they've been working on for a while now, since 1 year ago, sorry. And will be working on until into next year. So I bet Quantum Boost will also be something that we see fairly soon. Those combat speed changes are something they've been talking about for a while. And the fact that they've already got them working for them in Squadron, I think is pretty cool. So I think we're gonna see some of that stuff fairly soon. And when I say soon, I mean Star Citizen soon. So not after Squadron 42, but not like in the next 2 quarters. The whole world thinks this information age gives them the authority on all topics. Hey, I mean, come on, man. I could diagnose you with whatever you need. I know, I've gone on WebMD. I know what's up. I mean, at least with like everybody thinking that they know what everything is, we all kind of learn more. Is that a thing? Like, as long as everybody thinks they know what something is, you get into enough arguments where you start to learn? Or I guess that's where the other problem comes in, that nobody wants to change their mind. Quantum Boost is done and working. It's the numbers. Yeah, but it did not look like a polished experience when they showed it. Definitely looked like it needed a couple quarters more of work. And I imagine they won't put Quantum Boost out until the actual new effects for quantum travel are done. And they're still talking about, what were they? I believe monthly report. Star Citizen, yeah. I believe they were talking about VFX in quantum travel, but they still didn't seem to be like fully on board with what they were doing for it. Mirror's Edge in space. Honestly, I would have loved that. I would have bought that so quick if that was like the selling point of something. Yeah, see, they're continuing to prototype the quantum travel VFX rework, so they still got some time, I think, before they decide to really push this out. Which is okay. It's not a big deal. They kept saying block out animations. Yeah. Hey, Ruby! When the hover trolley comes in, we can maybe resume our dreams of the Apollo. Yo, okay. Can I say something? Can I please? Oh gosh, I didn't even realize this. I've been trying to figure out why I liked the Spirit so much. I'm gonna do something here. We're gonna get the Apollo by RSI. Put this on the screen. Give me a picture, nice and juicy. Where's it? Move this over here. All right. This ship was like, you know how I always talk about how I love that like 30 to 50 sort of meter range in terms of ships? And then I also like the Crusader sort of design style, but RSI gets me. I like some RSI ships. I think the Mantis is pretty cool, but like ships like the Polaris and the Apollo just look great. I love the Apollo. My problem with it was that it was only a medical ship. Like, what am I gonna do? But then they come at me with this, and suddenly I realized Like, oh, I don't have to wait for an Explorer version of the Apollo anymore. Cause look at this thing. I mean, it's not an exact copy, right? But like the shape is there. Okay, the shape is there, the size is there, the angles are there. They went and played me. I'm so glad I never looked at the Apollo seriously because I'm so much more excited about the C1. I'm not gonna go and like say it's gonna be my favorite ship or anything like that. It is a concept art. Neither of these things actually exist, but at least looking down the line, I suddenly realized that like this ship it fits exactly what I was looking for in the Apollo, and I didn't realize it when I first looked at it. But I like that idea of, oh, that's the E1, huh? That's not even the C1. I like that idea of not jumping on a ship just because you like it. Like they keep making ships, right? 4 years down the line, that perfect ship might come out. So it kind of counts to just wait on it. I mean, some people would tell you no because ships go up in price. Honestly, you should buy it in game anyways, but I really like the way that this ship looks. 48 SCU of storage. It's got crew compartments, got space for a co-pilot. My only qualm with it is that it kind of has the freelancer look to it on the interior. It's just a long hallway, despite all the space on the ship. That always bugged me about the freelancer. They've gotten a lot better at making these ships since they made the freelancer, so I'm sure it'll be less claustrophobic in there. But still, I would hope and wish that there was a little bit more functional space on those wings, because it's a lot of space just for those wings. Either way, I'm just really excited to see it. They're doing a great job of filling in this sort of 20 to 50 meter range of ships, and you love to see more of them. I hope we get it soon. I don't think we'll see this ship until 2024 at the earliest, but I'd love to be wrong. Either way, we'll see. Looking forward to it. Was watching Inforunners and they suggest the C1 should be modular. Huh. Like take away all of the variants and just do a modular ship for all three? You know that means less money for them, no? You think you're not seeing what I'm seeing in comparison? It's mainly just that it's narrow in the front and wide in the back. That's about it. The general shape and size. So the C1 is, I think, 42 meters long? Gosh, I just got rid of like all of the information about both of them. Crusader C1 and the RSI Apollo. So the C1, So the C1 is 35 meters in length. The Apollo is 43. They both have about the same beam, 25 versus 30. They both carry some amount of cargo. And they both have kind of like that same sort of wide in the back, it's getting narrow in the front shape. So that's like my perfect size for a ship. That all the way up like 35 to 60 meters is like exactly where I look for ships. So that's, I almost cut out everything else when I'm looking at ships that I might like for myself in the future. So the Apollo ranked really high because it was up there. The Mercury Star Runner's design didn't quite live up to what I was hoping. So I've still been waiting for something else to grab my eye. And the Apollo has actually been, it was between the Apollo and the Vulcan that I've really liked in this size range. But the fact that now another ship is coming out that's kind of similar to the Vulcan is very exciting. The Spirit, it says, is skinnier than the Apollo, but it says the beam of the Spirit is 25 and the beam of the Apollo is 30 meters. So, you know, all of this can change when it gets in game, but my whole point was just that they're similar sized and they're kind of similar in shape. And the C1 is something I can actually use for exploration, whereas the Medivac never looked like it was going to be an option. So yeah, that's my case for the C1. Yippee, I'm looking forward to it. Shorter than a freelancer even. You worry modular is going to come in when the Endeavor does and pigs fly. They are trying it, looks like with the, what is it called? Retaliator first. They had some stuff going on there. They were trying to do, what was that, maybe a year or two ago? Any possibility they already finished the C1? They keep talking about an unannounced ship with a cargo hold on the progress tracker. I don't think so, no. I think the 1 series Crusader ships are a long way away. Did I think the Phoenix will count as a luxury transport? Yeah, definitely. With component repairs coming secondhand, we'll have lots to do. If they do a nice blue and red livery for the Phoenix, for the Spirit, that'd be nice. That would be cool. That was earlier this year? Was it really? Holy crap. That feels like such a long time ago. I think I have that footage. Let's see. If I just look for modular. No. Module. Aha! Oh, no. Never mind. That's not it. That's from early. Here we go. This is from August 2021. This is the only modular stuff I know they've shown. These were the different modules in the Retaliator. It's all art though. None of this is like the actual functionality. They just got the arts and the different modules that they would have together. Drop ships. What was this? Missile? I think that's missiles. Can't tell. Whatever that is. It's a drink compartment. There's a little relaxation area. So that's all that we've seen from modules so far. Hope they create bunkers that look like the artwork they showed in CitizenCon. The artwork they showed had a little bit of white box work in it, so it looks like they're headed in that direction. Good morning, Echo One. Just getting back into SC. You've been excited to step back into the verse. It was good on you to be taking a break. That is oh boy, yeah. Breaks need to be taken for sure. I'm glad you got one. How are we doing on quality of the stream? Is everything okay? I'm looking at I'm using a little experiment here to see if we can live stream using a different service. Noticing anything different, guys? What's up, Rock Hunter? If we know nothing wrong, or notice nothing wrong, then how about we get into this resource management talk? This will be our first one. We're gonna go in all the detail, and then I'll be putting out a video about this one over the next several days. I say several, because it could be 5 days from now. I don't know. Looking good? Cool. Cool. Sounds good. Let's get into it then. Excuse me. What is that quality? You better stay at 1440. Can I even do that while I'm streaming? Are you gonna be okay with that, YouTube? Let's see. Let's see if YouTube can do it. Doesn't seem to be able to do it. All right, 1080p it is. Wow. There we go. Resource management in 318. That would be insane.
I'm assistant director for PU content.
Walmart special. How you doing?
Here today, we will be talking to you.
Hey.
About something we think it will change the way Star Citizen functions and works, and how the players will play the game in the future, and that is resource management.
Okay. You know what? We're going to give this a little second to buffer. Here's what we're going to do. Let's talk about, before we start watching the full video, let's take a look at the history of resource management. It doesn't even say where the video is. That's weird. Let's take a look at the history of resource management, because one of the immediate responses we saw when this started to get shown in during CitizenCon itself, at least when we were live, I saw reactions. People were saying like they had no idea this was going to be a thing. Which I think speaks towards how many different things there are to pay attention to in Star Citizen, and also kind of how difficult Star Citizen has made it for Starlink Fund. What is the stream lagging? Looks okay to me. How hard Star Citizen and CIG have made it to find information on this stuff. This is like a really big part of the game. A freaking huge part of the game. Multi-crew gameplay was like one of the original ideas of this game. So it's tough to see that they still can't get that information out very efficiently. But if we go back to 2020, this is October 2020. YouTube doesn't buffer anymore. What the heck is up with that? That's very annoying. So this was what they showed us 2 years ago in October. And this is where they were already kind of, you know what, screw this. Let's go look at the video. Why am I trying to explain it when we could literally watch the same guy explain it 2 years ago? Let's see how consistent they are. Should be here. All right. Also get to see a little bit of Count Jared, Count Disco. I'll give you a little bit of Count Disco while we're... Oh, I download my YouTube videos. In fact, yeah, that I don't know why I'm trying to play that on YouTube when I have it already downloaded.
Everything was ready. There was really only one thing left to do.
You'll have to science the shit out of this one!
Scroll. It wasn't long before the results of these labors bore delicious vegetables. During the evenings, we discovered the lights are on a timer that Count Disco does not fully understand. It was a minor hindrance, but the proper conservation and management of power is an important aspect of life in both the studio and the persistent universe. This is why we contacted the Dan Truppen from the PU Future team to share with us.
I have the video downloaded, so let's do that so that we don't have to have a bunch of buffering.
It wasn't long before the results of these labors bore delicious vegetables. During the evenings, we discovered the lights
Count
are on
Disco.
a timer that
Yo,
Count
Witch
Disco
Space,
does
thank you so
not
much for
fully
the
understand.
thanks for the gifted sub, my friend.
It was a minor hindrance, but the proper conservation and management of power is an important aspect of life in both the studio and the persistent universe. This is why we contacted the Dan Truppen from the PU Future team to share with us an early development prototype for the management of power and resources in spaceships, space stations, and very hopefully, the studio.
The purpose of prototyping, especially for anything gameplay related, is to prove that it's fun. If you don't have it,
This is from 2 years ago.
fun with a cube and a
October 2020.
put all the pretty paint on top of it, it's never going to be fun. So with the resource management, we have this idea that there is one way the resources are managed throughout the entire game. There's one way
Hey,
to
Grumpy.
consume them, one way to produce them, and all the items everywhere, they use the same system. So we started by creating this small example of a ship where we have a power plant, we have a fuel tank, a battery, we have lights inside the ship, we have turrets, we have weapons. We try to build a priority system. So
I always forget that's weapon and I think it's welcome. Like, why is there an L there? That throws me off every time.
So you never want your lights to have the same priority as, for example, your power plant or your weapons. Basically, as soon as we start the simulation, the power plant goes, I'm online now, but I have no fuel. So all of this energy right now, the lights start draining the battery. If we put some fuel in the fuel tank, as soon as we put it in, the power plant starts going online, the battery starts replenishing because there's not that many consumers online, if I go, okay, let's say I set my weapons, my laser weapons to fire. As soon as I do that, there will be more
lasers.
drain on
Weapon
the
laser, yeah.
energy. We can actually see we have a simulation of resources. We know we're producing
But
this
aren't they not even going to attach ballistics? Why do you have to specify?
much power, and we're requesting
Oh, it's on the
this
list.
much. We're running everything through exactly the same system. Now, same thing. Let's say someone
Welpin.
takes out our power plant because it got shut down or got sabotaged. Automatically now we're on battery power. It might go, okay, we don't need weapons now. We're going to turn them off. Lights, I only need the one in the front, so I'm conserving a bit of battery power until I can repair my power plant. Once I repair my power plant, this goes online and I can start turning stuff on again. And this was our first thing.
Gosh, I remember at this point I was just like, oh my gosh, yes! Like that is, that's exactly what I always imagined engineering would be. You kind of got to do the math and have the spatial awareness to understand what needs to be turned off and on at what times.
Thing we did where we built this ship, and we built this tool in a way that allows us to build different ship configurations. So as you can see, you can kind of understand the basic shape of a hammerhead. As soon as I turn on the simulation, we can see we have both power plants are starting to produce power. The fuel tank starts to get drained. The battery is on full capacity. We have these relays. Relays are a new concept that we're introducing in the ship. In order for all those resources to travel from the fuel tank to the power plant, from the power plant to the battery, from the battery to the lights, everything travels through these relays. Now, each relay you have on your ship is going to consume power. So the less you have, the more efficient you're going to be. The more you have you're going to be more redundant. For example, in this case, let's say someone sabotages this and they destroy this part. You can see already this part of the ship lost resources. If we lose this one, this power plant is off. Let's say now I need to start shooting. So I'm manning my turrets and they're shooting. I'm starting my Hammerhead doesn't have these weapons exactly here. We're just trying to simulate a ship at this point. You will start notice my lights started going off because in the priority my lights are very low priority. If you look at the battery is starting to drain. Let's say at this point it reaches 0.
Which space? Remember in the panel they talked about how this is coming with role assignments too. So if you can say that only engineers can mess with this stuff. That was really nice. I missed that the first time I was watching this, and when I watched it earlier today, it's like, okay, being able to assign roles is going to be super crucial. That's nice to hear that they're working with that.
Now this turret is off. It doesn't have power. This one is not running at what we requested because there's only one power plant running right now. Now, if I have a mechanic on board, he'll go, okay, this relay is broken, get power back to that power plant. As soon as we got power back to the power plant, we're starting to get our resources back, lights start going back online, we're back in business at this point. But let's say we have, I don't know, a smarter saboteur that goes, well, I kind of see how this ship is configured, I'm actually going to cut it in half. And this is usually like a worst case scenario. The system is smart enough to understand the idea that
and they do this, I think, in the new demo. We'll see something like this happening. Engineering is hard for you to get into, but you will if you have to get an advantage somehow, but it doesn't give you the goosebumps or anything. That's a nice part too. They're building this game to be really, really big. Most people won't play all parts of the game, and I think that's kind of the whole plan. Is like they're trying to build the game out that won't allow people to just do everything that they want, but rather work together with others or NPCs to do those things that don't really fit in their thing, you know. Didn't Space Engineers do this in 2013? I've not really played Space Engineers, but I imagine there are several games that do stuff like this, do some sort of a resource management or power management or something like that. I think the most popular being FTL. I think that people generally think of, but yeah, this is not an uncommon trope in space fictions, I guess you could call it. I mean, this on its own is probably, a lot of people think of things like Star Trek when they think about doing this, being Scotty and all that jazz, the beaming and the stuff. Bypassing relays and components around the ship will require you to know the fine details of each ship. Yeah, which makes it great because now you can have certain engineers, certain people who are very, very good with one ship that are going to get a job over somebody else because they might be an engineer, but not on a Hammerhead. They're an engineer on a Carrack. That kind of stuff adds so much more importance and value to org gameplay and having a group of people you can depend on and easily contact. This kind of stuff's going to be really important for those longer term missions that you're running. They do it through tubes, not power lines. It's all the stuff. Whether it's a string or a tube or a power line or a vent, as long as you can transport things.
Once the ship is cut in half, this front part of the ship has its own resource network.
A lot of people call this game the spiritual successor to Star Wars Galaxies. I don't know how accurate that is, but it sounds like a lot of the stuff in this game is similar to how stuff was done in SWG. That doesn't roll off the tongue at all. SWG? Yeah. I don't know.
And this part of the ship is its own resource network, so it runs them independently. So everything in the back gets powered by these two power plants, but anything in front is completely dead because our battery is dead. As an engineer, your main goal is going to be to keep your ship as operational and as efficient as possible. So let's say now I'm transporting goods. I'm just moving from A to B. It's a pleasure cruise, no problem. I never want to travel like this. Each of these relays is going to be a drain on resources. So I'm going to turn this one off because I can turn this one off and I can turn this one off. And power and resources still have a route to travel. I'm still keeping everything online. I'm trying to minimize the number of things that I'm powering on the ship. So this would be a viable configuration in which I'm still keeping everything on the ship fully functional. But let's say I go into battle. With this configuration into battle, if I take a hit here and this gets shot or gets sabotaged, I instantly lost half of my fire.
So the way that he talks about this,
a good thing.
How he's mentioning that if you have one way where the ship runs when you're not in battle, it's very efficient. It saves a lot of power, it keeps your signature low, all that stuff. And then you could have another way that you run when you're not in battle. I hope that means that we're going to have some, we can save configurations of our ships and how they run. I think ultimately, I saw somebody mention how this could be an annoyance. Besides the fact that engineers are mostly going to find a way to love this, I think the biggest kicker is going to be the UI. However they package this into the player-facing UI is going to probably be really important for how enjoyable it ends up being.
To use when you're not in danger. When you're in danger, you just switch stuff to a more redundant system. Besides this, with all the overclocking and setting power levels, setting resource levels for each items, setting priorities, I think that the engineer is going to be a crucial part of the ship. So this is where we are right now with this prototype. This is going to take quite some time to implement. This touches on a lot of systems. A lot of stuff will have to get refactored, but we're hopeful that once this reaches the live environment, this is going to make the game so much better for everyone involved.
Okay, so that's what they mentioned 2 years ago. Now we can jump into the current one and see how consistent that message has transferred over. They actually go into less detail with this current one because the idea of the feature is bigger. So back then they talked about you have different components, you have power transfers, you have relays, and then you have a balance to make. But they didn't have all of the, they hadn't put their head to the ground in terms of the actual gameplay. Now they realize life support is a really, really important part of this conversation. And gravity is probably going to be the other main thing that you're powering and controlling besides components. So we start to get, I think, a more tangible sense of how the system works in this one, but also kind of less detailed. Let's jump into it. They even use the same song for it.
Resource management is the...
What? Is that... Somebody must have gone back and checked what song was playing. No way.
System that allows items to produce, consume, and store resources in the game. It is the digital representation of real-life cables, pipes, tanks, batteries, or anything like this that you can imagine.
It's the foundation of the ships where you have certain resources like fuel, and energy powering certain items on the ship, but it's also the system that will lie below any station or any vehicle, anything that you can imagine in our universe that actually requires a certain type of resource.
Resource management is not just a system that helps ships function.
I heard that No Man's Sky has something like this. How is the how is it? Was it fun? Is it deep? Does it get you doing a lot of stuff? It's just Dan's music, his theme music.
Will function using resource management.
Oh, sorry,
So
that was
we
an
will
important
start-
point. So you mentioned that this isn't just for ships, it's for outposts, underground bunkers, all that jazz, which I think is pretty important because that means possibly not just combat missions in these bunkers and stuff, but you actually have to go down and do maintenance. In fact, if you don't mind, because I love to just get off topic. No, I guess not off topic. Just go on tangents. If we go to, oh my God, Tommy. She has started in the last couple of weeks. She's just started to bark at everything, trying to figure out why. I think she's bored, generally. The other dog's not here as much anymore, or not here at all. He never did come back yet. But yeah, now she just barks at everything. What was I looking for? Colonialism. So if we look at some of these concepts and work that they've done in the colonialism stuff, you could see that they've already sort of boxed out these different things. This is a battery pack that gets added to a base. You can see that they've already added interactive points to it where we might have to work with resource management. This is what is this? A cooling station. Again, interactive points in here that we might have to work with. Here is a solar power plant. Interactive points we might have to work with. And even if you go into game, just to kind of show the consistency here, I think it's important to point that stuff out. Let me see if I can find this other video real quick. Here we go. Okay, so if you go back to last year's demo and you look at this mission, you can see that the solar power panels are right there. They've already got the wiring connected. This is all the stuff that they've been actually building these outposts with that stuff in mind. You can even see it in some of the earlier gray box stuff they were doing. You see the power supplies. You can see these panels. So this is very, very... This isn't just Dan Truffin is in his corner doing this stuff on his own. This is the whole company has been building this stuff into these new locations and new ships and all that jazz, so that when this gameplay is finally ready on the UI side, on the engineering side, and the design side, they can throw it into the game, and the rest of these game systems will actually be able to support it somewhat. Not completely, but you can see how they've been on the same track for this system over the last couple of years with how they've been developing those things. Bet they'll add hacking into the engineering UI.
Of the entire universe, it will be the way surface outposts function, underground facilities, space stations, landing zones, everything in Star Citizen will function using resource management.
So we will start with the smaller vehicles, and the gameplay for those smaller vehicles way more interesting than what we have right now. And from that, we can move on to bigger ships, and finally the capital ships will have a real purpose in the world, and where it will have a real meaning that you have the multiple roles inside those ships.
It will drastically increase the time to kill for all vehicles in Star Citizen.
Give me 1 second, guys.
And it will encourage people to disable ships rather than destroy them. Missions like Siege of Horizon will increase in scope and scale up a lot more with the use of resource management, as players will be able to cripple resources, change the way resources are distributed, cut power, cut certain fuel and critical parts in order to progress further in those missions.
We can suddenly scale a lot bigger than what we have right now. And the reasons are that we have more control over the powers of certain platforms there, and we can introduce some interesting gameplay that facilitates these functionalities.
Resource management is going to open up the possibility of player structures, player-owned outposts on planet or stations in space, where the player will have to manage resources, bring in fuel, do repairs, And this will not be something that only caters towards the engineer. This will be something that is valuable for everyone in the world of Star Citizen.
Resource management will finally allow players to build their own bases and their own homesteads and actually keep that loop engaging and fun.
And really, this is the main thing that makes multi-crew gameplay possible. We envision the players taking on roles like engineer, mechanic, tactical officer. And while you have your engineer trying to maintain all the resources functioning
All right,
and flowing
share stream's over.
perfectly and all the
What did I miss? I'm going to back up just a little bit.
Star Citizen.
Resource management will finally allow players to build their own bases and their own homesteads and actually keep that
Heading out, Skippy. I'll catch you later, dude.
and fun.
And really, this
Dog
is
on
the
the camera.
main thing that makes multi-crew gameplay possible. We envision the players taking on roles like engineer, mechanic, tactical officer. And while you have your engineer trying to maintain
Also realize how much they focus on the hammerhead for this. And I think it's going to take a while for the other ships to get these things going. Because they've been working on this for the hammerhead. And I realize the hammerhead's the first vehicle, so it's probably slower. But I think the first time we get all of this in game, it's going to be a very small amount of ships, very select ships, and it'll take a while for them all to get updated. Might even be like they don't get the update until they do their gold pass or something. I don't know. No Man's Sky is too deep now. You almost need to be qualified electrician just to figure out what goes where and what each component does. It's not fun to build what you want anymore. Wow, really? That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected them to go that far. Hammerhead, Hull A, and MSR will be the rest of the ships. Is it the MSR? Okay, I need to double check that because me and morphologists were wondering about that. I thought it was the Ares. And I need to stop saying the wrong ship name. If it's the MSR, that'd be nice. So I've got one of those. Resource management. The Hull A. Crusader Ares. Yeah. So I think the reason that they chose the Crusader Ares is because it's a non-ship interior ship. And that'll give them kind of a template for that sort of sized ship. When was this change done? They haven't added this yet. This isn't coming in for a little while. Won't they have to increase the crew size of the Hammerhead to manage all the systems? Probably. That's usually why the crew sizes aren't one number. They're usually a range of numbers. 6 to 10, 2 to 5, 12 to 15. But again, the ship matrix is always off, so I wouldn't trust that. No Man's Sky. Oh, you were asking about the No Man's Sky one, huh? That's just what Conrad was saying. Can I link this? This is, just go to the Star Citizen YouTube channel. It's on the front page. It's called Power Play. This is a downloaded version of it. They did say MSR as well. I did not know they were doing the MSR as well. That's cool. That'll be good. So they'll have 4 ships that they're working on for this. The Hammerhead, Hull A, Ares, and I'm being told the MSR. I haven't seen that, so I'm not going to put my name behind it. But at least those first 3 I know for sure are being worked on. All right, back to the video.
all the resources functioning and flowing perfectly and all the items in good operation. You will have mechanics running throughout the ship, trying to change fuses, repair various things that have broken down. You will have tactical officers moving shields from one side of the ship to another in order to counter whatever incoming damage you have.
They just emoted next to the component.
In order to counter whatever incoming damage you have. Obviously, the pilot is going to be doing his job trying to move the ship out of harm's way. The gunners are going to be taking out enemy incoming fighters or other ships. This is how we envision this entire ecosystem just coming together.
Oh, they say it in the video. Okay.
Hope is true multi-crew
so
gameplay.
So the the idea of it, it's not just for multi-crew ships. This is for anything that's powered. So this could be like a single room outpost out on the moon, or like a small snub ship. I don't know what the gameplay would be behind power management of a small single-seater ship, but they have to have power that runs in some way, because there are components, there are guns, there are lights, there are things that have to be powered. So I think the reason that they're going with the Ares is because they need to have a good idea of what that actually entails. So they're building out a single-seater, no interior ship so that they know exactly what that means for things like the Gladius or the Arrow or other things.
And for all of you out there that are waiting for the Idrises and Javelins and want to use these ships, this is the system that is going to make using those ships possible. So all that said, this is a really important system for Star Citizen, but let's dig into the details and see what exactly this is.
What exactly is this?
Resource management can be broken down into several key elements. Power, energy resources, life support, item maintenance, relay handling, access control, and gravity. So let's start with power, energy, and resources. The players can choose to overload items in order to get more efficiency out of them at the risk.
Yeah, I think it'll include armor in some ways. Sure, if this will run in the armor or how, like, armor is going to be powered too, but I'm not, it's going to have like a whole overlay with all this kind of stuff like the ships would or the bases would.
If they don't need the full efficiency of an item, the players will have to pay attention to the balance of resources, power, fuel, coolant, heat generated, in order to maintain a well-oiled and balanced ship. And overall,
you guys think when this comes in and you vent a room in a spaceship, how is the game gonna say that you killed them? Is it just gonna go by default and say anybody who died in that room after you did that, or anybody who died of oxygen deprivation killed them? Just like, I could see that being a slippery slope where somebody shoots a hole in the side of the ship and it starts to leak the oxygen out, but then like people don't die until 20 minutes later. Do you get in trouble for that? Or do they? If you vent the room and somebody walks into that room, do you get murdered? Or do they say that that's murder? Or is that, is it just environment killed you? In which case, how does the game know whether you walked into the vented room when they were venting it, or they vented it while you were already in there and tried to kill you? Oh boy.
prioritizing certain items and their resource consumption.
Life support is the most important.
Ooh, pizza
thing you have
funds.
to pay attention to in your
Thank you,
system,
Taryn.
Since
Hunabits.
is finite in all the spaces that you might discover. And here, the life support system is a key factor. Here, the life support, you have to maintain it, meaning you have to make sure that the consumables inside the life support generator are always there to make sure that it can generate breathable atmosphere for you, or the temperature is actually increased to a human livable factor, so you don't freeze to death, or you are not cooked.
As part of item maintenance, the player will be able to control items throughout the ship, turn them on, turn them off. They will be able to remove broken items and replace them with new items, or sometimes dodgy items, depending on their income.
Physicalized components when? How long have we been waiting for physicalized components? Oh my gosh, I thought we were going to get those so long ago. Just hope that components aren't working broken. You'd like to see lights flickering or unstable O2 room pressures. Oh, if they're starting to go down. Wait, is the sound bad again? Audio is static. It's not good. It's not coming back. Is the video okay, or is it just my voice?
You will be able to control which sub-items are installed in those items, either as fuses or sub-components that give them various bonuses to that specific item.
The rest of the stream doesn't. Oh boy. Audio is fine on Twitch, so it's just on YouTube. That's really weird. That's so strange. Just voice only on YouTube. Okay.
They will be able to run repair gameplay and replace broken fuses when the item stops working or takes enough damage.
Relay handling is the actual management part that you, as the engineer on the ship, have to do there. It's basically defining the circuits in the most effective way, especially for bigger ships. So a relay is something that defines which items are connected to each other. And what we want to achieve here is allowing you to create the best possible outcome for your ship.
With access control, we're introducing ship roles. The captain will be able to assign certain roles to each of his crewmates, and for example, say one of the player becomes the engineer, which gives them specific access to certain controls, while the person that is the pilot will not have access to those controls. At the same time, a gunner will only have access to a specific gun or all the guns on the ship.
All right, is my voice any better? Did it? Please tell me it fixed itself. Unfortunately, if not, then I don't know. I'm not using Voicemeter. Whatever is happening here is internet related, and it has to do with the streaming service I'm using. I'm trying a new alternative that doesn't cost as much, and you can see why it doesn't cost as much. Sorry about that, YouTube.
And finally, gravity. So gravity is the concept that you experienced already in every ship. So there's always a ground,
Let's see, let me flip this off. Okay, and back on. And let's see if that works. Are we good? Cool. Okay, that fixed it. Thank you. Whew. All right, we missed a lot of stuff there while we were trying to get that figured out. So let's talk about what they've been talking about. Thank you guys for sitting through that with me. So they mentioned the relay system. The relay system to me feels like what they always said the pipe system was. Still the same. Still the same for you. That's weird. Maybe it's just my natural voice. Maybe my natural voice is very low. Anyways, so the relay system feels like they needed a way to get power from one place to another, and they wanted something in the middle that they could affect. So you just put relays in different places on the ships, and that simulates a pathway for pipes, right? So that's really interesting. The role management stuff is super cool and kind of comes from, I want to say the first time we saw signs of this was when they added the ability for party members to get into your ship, but it remained locked for everyone else. And then after that, we got the ship chat rooms. And then they started to talk about things like being able to give your party members, I think, what was it? No, never mind. I don't think they talked about anything more than that. But that was kind of where it all started, right? Now we're finally getting at least they're talking about being able to assign roles to people, be able to go, you can lift, you can use these turrets, you can use these missiles, you can use the scanning room, that kind of stuff is going to be great. So let's listen to more of that.
Ship roles. The captain will be able to assign certain roles to each of his crewmates, and for example, say one of the player becomes the engineer, which gives them specific access to certain controls, while the person that is the pilot will not have access to those controls. At the same time, a gunner will only have access to a specific gun or all the guns on the ship.
And finally, gravity. So gravity is the concept that you experienced already in every ship. So there's always a ground, there's always a down, there's always an up. And we would like to give you some more control over that. So because it requires some energy, and if you want to run your ship more energy efficient, we want you to allow to switch off gravity. Or there might be other use cases where a zero gravity environment is more useful than another.
They kind of let us do this for
now,
what is that? What is that mission? The one, it's not Black Kite. It's no. Is it Black Kite? Either Black Kite or Ghost Hollow, the Reclaimer mission. They let you change the gravity. It's kind of, you can see that they really want us. They really want us to do it, but they're not quite there yet.
Resource management touches pretty much every aspect of life in Star Citizen. So we're doing a lot of talking, but I bet what everyone would like to know is where are we with all of this right now?
You love the idea of living out in the black, scavenging half-working components with your ship engineer, swapping out broken parts for mildly broken parts. Yeah, we're having enough working relays to get the coffee maker working as a luxury. That'll be cool. Working as a scavenger. Oh my gosh, that's an interesting idea of the game. I didn't even think about that. Working as a scavenger, living off of the components you find on derelict ships. How will they explain gravity on ships without bespoke gravity generators? There's a normal gravity component as well, besides those like crazy gravity generators in the big ships. You're psyched to turn off gravity and float around to reduce our heat score just that little bit more. Very cool idea that you could just turn gravity on and off when you're on ships. That's, I mean, I didn't really think about that kind of thing back when I first backed the game. I think they put it into a demo as sort of just a scripted little event, but I never really thought about it systemically happening on ships. Actually, overclocking and power management was the first integration. I meant the integration of roles for people on ships. Like being able to tell someone you can do this, you can't do this on the ship. I think it was the lock and unlock stuff with the parties. But yeah, the overclocking back in the day, way back, like 2.6, 3.0 kind of times, was probably the first time we did anything power related. You're disappointed that throughout this conference they hadn't mentioned 3.17.x instability, which meant it won't be fixed in the next patch. Probably won't be fixed, but I also wouldn't read into their not talking about 3.17 here. I don't think they've ever talked about previous patches in CitizenCon before. They usually talk about features and maybe mention some of the future patches. What you want to know is after the damage map is updated in atmosphere in the ship being dynamic, will we lose atmosphere due to bullet holes? No. The damage maps are only on the outer hull. So generally you won't be punching through into the interior of the ship. Yes. Audio's down again. Do I think we'll salute the captain to select the role assigned? I don't know. That would be funny. All right, let's keep listening to this since my voice sucks.
Currently, we have working in-engine prototypes of the following systems: power, gravity, life support, and the relay network. With a power system, we can overpower and underpower items. We can set the priorities of item producers and consumers inside the ship, and we can set the path of resources inside the ship through the resource relay network.
And with the power system, we already can distribute the base energy.
Does it not? It fixes when I reload it, right? You said it fixes when I turn around? That is weird. Could be a loose connection. I don't see... It's only on YouTube, though. It's not happening on Twitch. So whatever is happening, it's happening outside of this room. It's happening on the internet. I want to use Restream, but Restream's like freaking $40 a month or something. It's ridiculous. Restream's expensive, bruh. And I really don't need to be paying for another service, but I guess I might have to do that. OBS doesn't do streaming to both ends. Might be the lead to the mic. When you turned around, it dropped out. When you looked front and center, it went back to normal. Huh. But it's not happening on Twitch, right? Nobody's hearing any of this stuff happen on Twitch. It's just YouTube. I don't see how it could be anything in the room if it's not transferring through OBS itself. Anyways, we're just distracting from the stream. As long as it's fixed, let's keep going.
Of resources inside the ship through the resource relay network.
And with the power system, we already can distribute the base energy and base fuel throughout the ship. So we can
Thank you
make
guys
sure
on Twitch.
that each item actually
Okay,
gets
I
the
didn't
resource.
get to pay much attention to this live. So here we have the overall. God, this is so ugly compared to what they showed us that other prototype. Not that that matters. Just saying. So we've got the hammerhead here with all the different relays. Components are in there. Weapons, turrets, all that stuff. And let's see. Anything telling up here? Just item port relays, control blocks, the state of it. Is it overclocked? No stored resources, no resource consumption. So right
Base
now,
energy and base
looks like the ship
fuel
is
throughout the ship.
unpowered in
So
half
we
the ship. This is supposed to be a relay
And
spot.
make sure that each item actually gets the resources they need. Creating your own resource path is basically defining the routes.
So this is what it'd be so funny if this was relay gameplay. You just walk around and plop it onto the wall. So this is a relay.
Or the most efficient routes that the energy or the resources.
And you can see when he pulls it
defining
off, it cuts
the
off this
routes,
arm of power.
Or the most efficient routes that the energy or the resources have to take throughout your ship.
So he's running up this way. Oh, I think he came over here. No, he was here. So he took a relay from here, ran it down the hallway, put it up here, and that basically transferred all the power that's coming here.
Or the most efficient routes that the energy or the resources have to take.
It allows him to
throughout
power the
ship.
back of the ship.
We can also demonstrate many aspects of the life support system, including
Have not
making
heard a
new
float
players
plane now.
suffocate.
We've seen this overlay a lot. So again, this just showing that this is stuff they've been working on for quite some time. This was the first time we ever saw this back in July. So they've had some form of life support and gravity control working for a little while now. And we've also seen that they've been working on the room system. So something that hasn't been true, I'm sure many of you have noticed, is that you can just open your doors in your spaceship while you're in space and nothing happens. There's no depressurization, there's no loss of air, nothing changes. The room system is what they've been trying to work towards fixing that. Basically transferring over, being able to transfer gases from one volume to another, from a vehicle to another vehicle, from one room to another room, from a planet's surface to a ship. Essentially trying to allow fluids to move between volumes. That's very fast though, but I guess you could say that's explosive if the pressure is crazy enough. It's very fast death. That actually, though, it kind of makes sense that this guy took a little bit longer to die since it wasn't explosive, right? It just drained out slower. So maybe it actually does depend on the amount in the air and not just the fact that it's vented or unvented.
Fire expulsion.
That fire died. I think engineers will be able to do this by computer. The thing that engineers couldn't do by computer are the relays. These things will all be on the engineering component itself, the desk that's usually in like the different component bays or whatever is in the spaceship. Think they have sped it up? Yeah, that's actually a good point. Maybe they did that. How's it going, Rogue Duck? Welcome. Explosive decompression in the vacuum of space or too detailed? I could show ya. I don't know if I could find that clip. We've seen explosive decompression. Oh, I don't have it. I don't have it. Oh, that's a huge bummer. We've seen them test explosive decompression. I'm going to have to try and find it in the next few days. See if I can bring it on for a video. It was a long time ago, though. It was like 2017, 2018. Oh, well. So yeah, I think they'll do the explosive stuff. Hold on. I'm sure we could find it on YouTube. It was a pretty... People liked the clip. Let's see. This is how I usually find clips for my videos. Explosive decompression, Star Citizen 2018. Usually you can find a Reddit thread, and if it's not in the actual post, you can usually scroll down and it'll be in a comment or something. Oh boy. This is going to be a search, but I'm dedicated to this one. We're going to find this. Any decompression demos? Oh, there definitely were. Is this it? This might be it.
Principal ship technical artist here in Los Angeles. Hey, Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey, Jared.
Nope, that's just talking about it. Voice thing again. Hold on, is the voice working now? Is it like if I'm switching windows or something? Here it is. It's fine? Okay. Here's explosive decompression. This is what they showed for it a while ago. Obviously, it's not exactly correct, but the forces that they've tried to simulate there are for explosive decompression. So, definitely a thing that they're looking into. You would think it would be too detailed, but this is CIG. For posterity's sake. So yeah, decompression, putting out fires, all that jazz. They're trying to do it all. Whatever they were showing in that video, though, was obviously faked. Just to show their intent. Changing the temperature is an interesting one. I'd like to hear what you guys think would be the... Tommy. I'd like to hear what you guys think would be the need to change temperature. I'm thinking maybe valuable cargo. So if you have a mission where you have to transport some certain type of cargo that needs to be in a certain temperature, whether it's like plant life or some kind of mineral or unstable substance, maybe then they would be like, okay, but you need to have an extra powerful life support system to lower that temperature down very low. But other than that, I wasn't really sure. Specific cargo? Yeah. to keep the cargo and reactors cool. Okay. Stand by, guys. I'm gonna let you listen to the rest of this video. I gotta take Tommy to the backyard.
Heat generated in order to maintain a well-oiled and balanced ship. And overall, prioritizing certain items and their resource consumption.
Life support is the most important thing you have to pay attention to in your ships now, since atmosphere is finite in all the spaces that you might discover. And here, the life support system is a key factor. Here, the life support, you have to maintain it, meaning you have to make sure that the consumables inside the life support generator are always there to make sure that it can generate breathable atmosphere for you, or the temperature is actually increased to a human livable factor, so you don't freeze to death, or you are not cooked.
As part of item maintenance, the player will be able to control items throughout the ship, turn them on, turn them off. They will be able to remove broken items and replace them with new items, or sometimes dodgy items, depending on their income. It will be able to control which sub-items are installed in those items, either as fuses or subcomponents that give them various bonuses to that specific item.
Okay.
We'll be able to...
Dog is done. Now the prayer is up. Oh, did I put you guys on the wrong video? I'm sorry. My bad. I actually removed the video we were watching. But I'm guessing YouTube will now work for us, right? We can only expect. Let's get back to where we were. Sorry about that. Exclamation point. Pray. Pray in the chat. This dude's going on and on. On and on.
There he is! There he is!
change the temperature in each room.
I realized I didn't actually... So you guys were having some different ideas for the temperature changes. Freeze out Xenos. Freeze or die of heat beyond gear tolerance. Optimal component performance. Could also tie into actor status. Lower temperatures use more power, but causes you to get thirsty slower. Maybe. Cooking intruders. Half your crew to explosive decompression. That would be bad. Yeah, that'd be terrible. You won't freeze or cook. That's fair. I mean, maintaining the temperature makes sense, but changing it is an interesting idea. Geez, negative 32? Why would you... Oh my gosh. Hey, yeah, it's at negative 37 temperature in there. Why would you ever... What? Okay, so the fire raises the temperature.
Making new players suffocate.
It didn't let us see. I wanted to know if they were going to die or not. Oh, this is dark. Okay, so this is an important point, one that they've talked about a bit, and this is how the whole crew limits of each ship is going to work. It's going to be based on life support and beds. So if you have too many people in the room, I think what we should be seeing here is the O2 level dropping. Yeah, so the O2 level percentage is dropping because there are too many people in there. And eventually you probably have to clean them out with a broom. You'd play this game a lot more if it was controller friendly. That would be nice. Huh, they do have reflections.
Filling rooms with atmosphere.
Wait, I missed that. Oh, connected by ventilation. Okay. Did they lose oxygen? Trying to see if they lose their oxygen at the same rate. Looks like it, yeah. Guess that makes sense, though. The interesting thing is they already have the component on the ground there. Like, I don't know if that's just there for the woo-ha's and the just for fun, but it is there. It'd be interesting if it was functioning.
And making players suffocate. Again.
Oh, God. Just rude. This is brand new. I think they just got this working last month. I wonder what gravity low means. This is going to be so big for puzzles. Specific types of puzzles where you have to go through space stations in certain ways. Oh man. You guys remember that level in Titanfall 2 where you have to be in certain times to traverse certain parts of the level? I feel like they could do something similar to this where you have to turn gravity off and on for certain parts. I bet that was a thing in Prey. I never got to a mission like that, but I bet that was a mission in Prey. Sounds like a Prey kind of thing. This is why we all need a mole. Just turns off the entire back half of the ship. That's so cool. Oh, that's cool. That was a good game, Prey.
Last year, we've made tremendous progress.
2016
with the
Prey.
Management system, but with a system that is this big and complex.
Actually, I bet both Preys would have done something like that. Plus 100 cool points for playing Titanfall 2. Cool points for everybody. It's a good game. Titanfall. Oh, God. Titanfall is a legitimate tragedy. What happened to that franchise? That franchise could have been huge. Like, I know there was no sort of like pinnacle hero type figure in that game to take the brand and run with it, but I feel like Titanfall could have been one of the bigger franchises in gaming. It got screwed because they released, I think it was the second one they released in between Battlefield and Call of Duty. It was like all three released in a month, and they put Titanfall right in the middle. Just like, why? And then the team went and started working on Apex. Ah, that game was so good.
We do not want to rush it. We want to just get it right and get it right from the beginning. So let's talk about what's next for the resource management system.
What's up, Freak Gang? Doing well. I hope you're good.
As you can tell, resource management is a huge endeavor for us.
So like everything else, we'll probably not get everything in the initial release, but this is what we're aiming for. Interactable and accessible items on ships, relay gameplay.
What is items? Do they mean components? That's a really big point. Like that's worth a feature on its own, right? Accessible components. We've been waiting and hearing about that for a long time.
Changing fuses on the relays, resource balancing.
Also, what's the difference between relay gameplay and changing fuses on the relays?
Defining control groups that will be accessible through the MFDs. Allowing people to create presets for your resource network.
Nice.
For each ship.
Cool.
An engineering UI with at least
Defining control groups that will be accessible through MFDs. That's good. So roles, engineering UI with at least a list or schematic view of your ship. Oh my God, a list view of the ship's going to be terrible.
A list or schematic view of your ships. External engineering screen for ships, allowing engineers to define the tuning parameters that can be accessed by the pilot with the press of a button.
That's a lot.
Like loading presets and creating presets.
What's missing from here? They're not specific about what's on here. So like resource balancing could mean just power and not life support, could mean life support and power, but not gravity. It's not super telling, but the fact that they want to have the engineering UI done means that suddenly all of the engineering terminals on ships will matter. They'll be functional. There'll be something to do. That'd be a bigger addition than refining or refueling was, for sure. It's like you're looking at an immediate change in gameplay that's far greater than refueling, and I would argue greater than salvage as well. You're talking about removable relays, so the actual system itself will be working. Yeah, it's a lot of UI. That is a whole bunch of UI. I wonder how far along they are with that. I thought they were going to show us some of that in CitizenCon. Yeah, so relay rerouting would be relay gameplay. What is changing fuses on the relays then? Does that mean, relays having subcomponents? Jeez, okay. So relays are bigger than I was thinking.
And after the initial release, everything else will fall into place with subsequent patches.
Don't tell me that. That's what they told me about Quantum. Don't tell me that, Dan. Dang
We
it.
started talking about resource management about 2 years ago. It is pretty much the evolution of what used to be the old pipe system. And this has been an interesting journey. And finally, we're starting to see the fruits of our labor. And we're starting to see all the possibilities of gameplay that we can open up to the players in the future. It's exciting to work on something that's so central to the world of Star Citizen and that can impact the gameplay of so many people, irrelevant of what they choose to do in the world of Star Citizen.
Resource management is the most exciting feature that I've ever worked with. It's such a groundbreaking feature that
I wouldn't say they haven't worked on it yet. I think if anything, the kiosk sneak peek that they did earlier this year just shows that they're probably kind of not willing to show us UI now if it's not far along. So maybe they might have a couple months done on it or something, but it's not in a position where they think the community should see it. People were straight sacrificing them for that inventory screen until they showed the updated one that they had that they were working on.
makes me really proud of what we are working on.
Yeah, resource management is going to
Thank you for letting
require
us share our
revamp of every
progress
ship.
with you, and we hope you're happy with all this progress and have a nice CitizenCon.
So I expected to see more when we saw that this was going to be a panel. I was expecting to definitely see more of the in-game functionality of this. Unfortunate that we didn't. And looking at the work itself on the progress tracker, it'll be interesting to hear what more needs to be done. Or what hasn't been done. So what is this? This is the vehicle feature team, vehicle content team, vehicle content team, and EU PU team. So there isn't anything listed on here as UI, which is interesting. I'm guessing that just means they haven't assigned the downstream team. So this is UI downstream. Doesn't make sense, does it? So still got plenty of time scheduled for this update. Not sure they're going to make that deadline. It looks like they want to try and get a first version of this into 4.0, which would probably be closer to this time. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Time is not on their side if we've seen anything. But let's see how they do it. Now let's talk about the speed changes. And oh my gosh, I'm going to have significantly less to say about this because I am not crazy about combat. But I know that chat's going to have plenty to say, so I'm sure this will be a discussion topic. Who did the UI for refueling? I don't know. We can see if the UI team was even working on refueling, but... Yup, UI feature team. So they usually get assigned. They're working on hacking, map and radar system reworks, ship-to-ship refueling, Moby-Glass rework. Not like they're not working on stuff. Interesting. But not resource management. Your pilots weren't happy about this. They think it'll allow people to escape easier.
Hi, my name is Joey Klatt. I'm a gameplay programmer in the vehicle feature team. I'm here with Rich Towler, David Colson, Jed Talbot, and Johnny Young. And today we're gonna talk to you about the upcoming changes to the flight systems and the combat systems, which are done specifically for Squadron 42, but which will eventually find their way to the persistent universe.
I think there's multiple conversations being had about these flight changes. When I think of this panel, I think more about the difference between regular flight and quantum flight. Like, my mind is almost completely looking at quantum boost, whereas I feel a lot of people are looking at this as basically just the combat changes are the important part. So I think that's probably why I have less to say about it, but we'll see if I can come up with something now. I'm just a tomato. I don't shoot things.
We want to define ship roles for the game because every role in itself and every ship can offer unique gameplay opportunities for individual players.
We want to provide a lot more variety to the gameplay in Star Citizen, a lot more opportunity for different careers, different responsibilities, and different sort of perspectives and views on gameplay where people contribute different types of work and different types of jobs.
Star Citizen is supposed to be a big expansive game with giving the players lots of chances to have a variety of different experiences. It's not just about combat, it's not just about an economy, it's not just about piracy, it's about all of those things happening at the same time. So we need ships that can act and function in different ways to support all of those different goals.
In trying to figure out these roles and define what they are and make the gameplay for them, we started very heavily leaning toward combat, mostly because combat is a mechanic that is very widely applicable throughout the game, and the principles behind it apply to various other roles in the game.
We've been working away in the S42 branch, and this has really allowed us to isolate these ships. So we're kind of broken it down into archetypes, and it's really allowed us to kind of break down what these ships do. And also it's to make sure that when we are defining these roles and balancing these roles, that we're putting the ships in the right place, because we don't want the ships to be like, you play this ship, it means you dominate this part of the game. That there's always got to be plus and minuses so the balance is right. So there's still some crossover between the ships. So just picking
that
one
was
type
cool
of ship
shot.
isn't just a win.
We have already defined several ship roles, and they're usually known as light, medium, and heavy fighters. Light fighters for us are fighters which are very dominant in the area of 1 versus 1 PvP combat.
But
I'm sorry, we're supposed to be dominant in 1v1 at times? I didn't get that memo.
Come with the downside, because obviously the light, which means the materials chosen on the ship, are probably not the strongest. So it's more about the attack. It's more about trying to outposition and get in there and attack and get out of the situation.
Heavy fighters are kind of the opposite. They're not supposed to be really good at 1 versus 1, but they excel at N versus N engagements. So when we have group battles. Medium fighters for us, internally we call multi-role fighters, because they have a lot of hard points. So they have a lot of loadout flexibility. So a player can tune them to the role whatever they want, but they will never reach the performance of dedicated
Wait,
ships.
are they calling the Reliant a medium fighter?
With a turret as well, so they've got that additional gameplay of the turret, which is aimed to kind of counter the lack of maneuverability that their ships have.
And then additionally to that, we have racing ships, which are basically just really fast at changing the velocity vectors, and interceptors, which we basically just want to go very fast in the forward area, but never reaching really the performance envelope of dedicated dogfighters.
Interceptors are designed to kind of catch up to ships and disable them. So they come with kind of advanced kind of hardware on these ships.
Bombers, on the other hand, are Well, they're just lobbing heavy ordnance at larger targets, so you use them to take out bigger ships. But they're not really good at killing small fighters. And then from smaller ships to larger ships like Constellation and up, we want to change the gameplay to be less about positional combat, but more going into the naval style of combat, where it's important to show the correct shield and fire arcs and timing your shots over long distances.
So the purpose of ship roles is to really help players understand what ships should be used and when they should be used. And it's really about delivering on those kind of gameplay promises that we've been talking about, over the past, kind of several years.
If every ship is the same, it's not fun. But if we have dedicated ships with dedicated pros and cons, then we can create very exciting combat environments. And the biggest challenge we see in order to get that gameplay we want is the current speed that we have in combat.
It's a subject.
All right, first question. When it comes to changing the way that we do things, there are two different ways of doing it. First, there is the obvious and easy way of simply throwing a limitation on the gameplay and saying, you can't do this. The number got too high, you simply can't do it. These are things like speed limits. It used to be whether our wings were up and down. This was like hover mode did this. It forced you into a certain thing rather than giving you like a choice. The other way of doing it is giving people a choice, but imparting enough consequence on them that they will choose the obvious choice. These would be like, obviously you don't want to murder somebody because then you'd end up in prison. That's not a thing. Morphologist, my man. Abdi, thank you so much for coming through for the sub, man. I appreciate you. But Morph with the raid, my dude, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Oh, it must be late over there. You're getting finished late. Thank you, dude. I appreciate you. They tried giving the choice, and fools will still joust it. Right, so that's the whole thing. They can give you the choice, and they can tell you, don't do this because it'll be worse for your ship, or they can force you just to do something a certain way. And like Witchspace said, they gave us the choice. Honestly, I don't feel like they tried hard enough, but at this point, they're going the first route. And my thoughts usually stream until 12. Oh, it's 11:50. Look at you. Nice. Getting off early, huh? Slacking off, I see. Thanks for dropping by, though, dude. I appreciate you. Check out the podcast just released 2 days ago with Morphologist. If you haven't seen it, we had a really good talk about all the CitizenCon stuff, and it went for super long. Cut it into 2 parts. So make sure to check both those out in the second YouTube channel. See you later, Morph. Have a good one. Thanks for dropping by, dude. So I was thinking they were going to choose the impart consequences, watch them make the obvious choice thing here. And I think the best way to do that would have been to tie this into resource management and say something along the lines of like you're charging your quantum drive, it drains your shields very slowly. It weakens your shields. Maybe it doesn't drain them all the way. It drops them to 50%. I don't know. Maybe you're flying a Drake ship. Okay, you can't do that. But the thing that would do is it would allow them to say certain ships that have more power are able to run faster or are able to get out of a dogfight with shields. Certain ships that decided to disable their lights so that they could put more power towards their quantum drive won't have to lose that disadvantage of the shields. But most people in their default situation won't have the pre-preparation to avoid that, and their shields will just naturally go down as they start to speed up and put more power into their quantum drive. I also realized, though, that could like really, really complicate things, because then you're starting to talk about how to balance specific builds of ships, and with over 100 ships, bunch of components, like different builds, it'd be probably impossible to balance that, I guess. So they might just be at the point with this game where it's too complex for them to choose that route. I don't know. Either way, that's what I was hoping they would do. And it is kind of a bummer that they're going about it the way they are. But let's keep listening to it so I can get a little bit of a reminder of how it's going to work, and then we'll talk about it.
that we've talked about many, many times in the past. And it's something we've tried many things with. We've tried limiting things at speed, we've tried adjusting handling at speed, we've tried so many things to kind of manage the negative impact of speed on combat.
When ships are going fast in combat, they usually just end up very far apart, which is not very interesting, and it just devolves into jousting very quickly, which is also not very interesting.
UK boy, I would say the best thing for them to do would be to treat these systems the same way they're treating things like medical or mining or salvage, basically how they're treating the professions. Instead of forcing everyone to jump into the deep end of these things, they say the default loadout will allow you to play and you'll be fine. You will never have to change it if you don't want to, but if you want to go the extra bit and do things better, then you would have to get more into customization. And that's what I meant when I was saying most people probably would be in the situation where their shields would have to drop. So they would effectively have a similar effect as what they're doing here by forcing shields to drop as quantum spools up, unless you decide to shift power around, in which case that gives people who want to be more deep into it the upper hand without taking away the effect that they're going for with these speed changes. But like I said, I guess the balancing gets too crazy. Did I see the Spectrum post on this saying your shields will not go away immediately? Yeah, and I think it also looks like that in the video here. That's something we'll talk about once we get through this segment.
Create a longer distance between you and the target. Your angular requirements to maneuver to that target are just extremely small. And this is a very obvious math reason why high-speed combat is kind of the opposite of what we want to achieve.
Is there no shield hardening on smaller ships? Was that confirmed? I don't remember.
Meaning meaningful and effective positional maneuvering.
We want the combat to be closer and to be more turn-oriented. So rotations should matter more than just flat speed.
Having very high speeds that are pretty much the same between all ship classes negates a lot of the opportunity for smaller ships to flex different types of gameplay.
Another big issue with the speeds in combat is it's very hard to keep players engaged in the combat because players can move so far so quickly in such a short space of time. It's quite hard to keep a track on your opponent.
So you might think, oh, why don't we just make the ship slower and call it a day? Well, we can't do that.
The main reason we can't just make everything slower is the size of the Star Citizen world. We've got huge planets where we need to go from the planet's surface up into space. We need to traverse between different systems. So essentially we can't have just low speeds all of the time.
There's a massive universe out there to explore, there's planets to explore, and the feelings we want to capture with the speed, we still want an element of danger that you can still go too fast in lots of situations.
We have tried an awful lot over the past few years with what are called soft speed caps, where there is no speed cap on ships, but we encourage gameplay to occur at a lower speed.
I don't think they encouraged
really
enough.
Because the advantages of flying fast in terms of defense is just better.
So since the last year, the focus of Vehicle Feature Team shifted very heavily towards Squadron 42 and nailing down the flight and space combat experience for it. And I'm very proud to say that we finally found a really good working solution that we're going to show today. So the main idea is to simply not have combat and long-range travel at the same time. So we're splitting these gameplay experiences. This will be done by a thing which is called master modes. A master mode is a thing that is globally applied to your ship. And we have two of them. We have SCM, which is now relabeled as standard control mode, and QCM or QM for quantum mode.
The idea is that between these two modes, we can constrain the speeds in combat and also get all of the maneuvering, like high speed maneuvering and traversal mechanics that we had before, but in these distinct modes that are integrated with lore and integrated with the ship functions, such that there's costs and payoffs for being in each of the two modes.
So let's start with standard control mode and what this means. So this is the mode that we intend to be the functional mode of the ship, whether it's combat or mining or any of these kind of core kind of things the ship does. We want the player to do these things in this mode. And what this does is it reduces the speed of the ship, but it also enables the shield to be turned on. And obviously the intent behind this is where you do your combat. It's where the guns are on, the missiles can be armed and fired, and all the kind of operational things the ship does operates within this mode.
The speeds that you can reach in SCM are somewhat limited, somewhere between 200 and 300 meters per second, tuning pending. But this is basically the hard cap, which you cannot not really exceed. You can slightly exceed this by using boost, but you cannot maintain any velocity beyond that SCM limit.
So you still have the ability in SCM to use the boost as long as you have it. I mean, you shunt your capacitors, you give yourself a more powerful power plant, you do what you need to on your component side to have enough boost. I mean, looking at this, it looks like you'd be able to fly fairly fast for a while. How quickly did that drain?
Within this mode.
The speeds that you can reach in SCM are somewhat limited, somewhere between 200 and 300 meters
I guess that looks about the same rate, going about 500 meters per second.
The speeds that you can reach in SCM are somewhat limited, somewhere between 200 and 300 meters per second.
That's actually not terrible. Like if you boost yourself and get up to that speed before switching off, you'd be going pretty fast.
Hard cap, which you cannot not really exceed. You can slightly exceed this by using boost, but you cannot maintain any velocity beyond that SCM limit for a longer period of time.
So we're thinking of this as some kind of energy management system. So you can go a little bit faster with a little bit more accelerations when you need to, but you know that it is a limited resource and you should use it carefully.
Specifically, the boost space is interesting for space combat because that boost space is not spheric as it was before. You can boost the fastest if you're going forward on a straight line, and you have a lot of debuffs when you're trying to boost backwards. That alone gets us a lot of interesting maneuvering space and variation.
They're really trying to force this airplane style flight.
A dogfight maneuvering, so to speak.
Importantly, you don't have your quantum drive available in this mode. The idea is that quantum is restrained to the quantum traversal mode.
The second mode is quantum control mode, or QCM or QM. What this mode does is it unlocks your maximum velocity that your ship can reach. So when you mode does is it unlocks your maximum velocity.
Does it wait until your shields are down to boost that velocity?
What this mode does is
it's right here. It looks like
it unlocks
it. Yeah, it says you're going your max speed at 225 and then drops you down to show that the max speed's gone up. I bet they changed that. I bet they'll switch that up so that you can start as soon as you switch into the mode.
So when you were limited before to 200 to 300 meters per second, now you can go to 1200, 1400 meters per second, whatever your ship allows you.
During the development of the quantum mode, we realized we needed something that was a little bit more kind of about traveling large distances, but not the distances that you need to, speed up your quantum drive and travel across the universe. So we've created this feature called Quantum Boost, which...
See, this is the part that interests me. This seems like a freaking paradigm shift for the game. The fact that they're doing this quantum boost. Let's listen to it.
Mode, and you can access it at any point. So at any point you want to kind of boost towards your location that you're kind of looking at, but it's just a too far away. And this boost is available for a limited amount of time. And it's purely on a straight line.
Just to give you like a ballpark, quantum boost will allow you to go to a target fast if it's within, let's say, 50,000 kilometers, whereas you will use quantum travel to do very long range jumps between planets. So quantum mode allows you to go very, very fast with up to like 1200, 1400 meters per second when you want to zip really fast over a planet. It also allows you to do quantum boost to quickly go between points of interest, which are rather close to you. And it allows you to travel long distances between.
Mark my words, this is the beginning of exploration, like the traditional exploration gameplay that people are waiting for. This is where it starts. It's so freaking exciting to see them factoring in some sort of mid-distance travel. I didn't think we were going to get that. I didn't think we would. I thought it was going to be normal flight or quantum travel all the time. I do wish that, I think somebody said, it would be nice if the maximum speeds in quantum mode are faster, like 2,000, 2,500 meters per second. But quantum boost is something else. The fact that we can now blind jump, people have been begging for this for like 5 years, ever since they got rid of it way back. People have been wanting to be able to blind jump to new locations ever since then. I didn't think we'd get it. I thought we'd get the ability to place waypoints where we wanted and then jump to those. So self-controllable blind quantum jumping at medium distance means they are, and they also, just cutting myself off. If you noticed in 3.17, I believe it was, they changed the Lagrange points from being a dropout by the space stations to being a dropout near the nebula. And then you get multiple points that you can jump to in that area. So they're already starting to do this whole thing where they get different points of interest within 50 to maybe 100 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers from where you are ending up. After this comes extended scanning, and then they start to fill those areas with points of interest, and you got your exploration gameplay. I thought it was only points of interest too, but he says pretty clearly here. So first, Chris Roberts said during the final talk of CitizenCon, he said, all those people who want the free quantum mode. Yeah, let me pull it up actually. I listened to it a few times and I quoted it on Twitter because I was very excited about it. But let's see if I can find exactly where he says it. Maybe I should clip it so it's a little easier than this to find. It would have been back here. Probably around here.
Earlier, or if you're watching this separately on YouTube and you don't know what this looks like, let's take a look at the Quantum Boost clip that we have.
So listen to what he says here. I feel like this was the buried lead, and maybe it's Chris being Chris and just saying things, but we'll see.
A huge deal.
So I know we have...
Okay, come on. Nothing buffers in this house. Isn't it enough regarding CitizenCon already?
Now it's when you're in space, it's sort of like...
Wait, hold on. We had the annual event of the year 4 days ago, and you're asking me, a person who makes a living off of covering Star Citizen stuff, if it's been enough? Obviously, I'm going to go over it in detail. That's like... I feel like that would be I would be doing a disservice to not go over this in detail with people.
You know, most of it is
point to point.
It's empty for you, right? It's like you spend your time around the space stations or you know, some asteroids here around the planet, but we want to open it up a bit more and have that idea of, oh, I can detect something, I want to investigate it. So the whole sort of exploration, investigative gameplay that can happen in space now because of these different modes of travel and the scanning is going to be a huge deal.
Where is it?
It's 10,000 kilometers away. The equivalent of being on a planet and going, there's a mountain over there, I can see it. I don't know what's on it, but I'm going to...
They just talk.
Radar scanning is fundamentally, it has two purposes. One purpose is to give you information about the things in your environment, and the second purpose is to help you explore.
If you play it in reverse, there's a hidden message.
Find things that are not necessarily apparent because space is a big, dark place. So we need that. We want to be able to take advantage of that. So when you have this ability to detect things that are much further away, all of a sudden you start to feel like you are that.
We got to get our copium. This is literally like spoon-fed copium.
Example of something on Squadron that, you know, we were also looking at, like, how do we solve the problem of your, you know, patrolling an area, right? And it's not very much fun if you patrol an area and then it's like, you know, space is big. I go to this area and then I look around and my radar covers 10 kilometers in front of me, and that's it. That doesn't feel like I was patrolling, you know, a large area of
Say
space.
the thing, Chris.
And so we sort of were thinking about, well, how, you know, really if we think about it, there's like short range, which is, you know, what you would call the standard control mode, like slower exploration. I come up to a, you know, a derelict, or
Here comes the
cluster
train
of asteroids that I'm going to fly around to see what's happening. And then there's the medium range, which hasn't really existed in both the
Okay,
PU,
what?
and it's something that
When did they start
really
talking about this? It's just like an hour of talking.
Version all these years later, and it's still mostly the code that was done all those years ago. And that's when I mentioned at the top of our talk that the star map. Well, the star map's really star map and
space is big. That's what his hands are saying. It's large, very big, huge.
Oh no, this is it. This is where
Massive.
the player should be. And
Huge.
what we want to do is we go back to kind of what Chris's original vision in terms of, well, there's an in-cockpit radar.
I should clip this when I do find it, because
and it's something that we really wanted to have in.
clearly it's not.
Program late and didn't see the flight experience segment earlier.
Let's see, maybe it's after the clip.
Okay. What we just showed now is the new old UI, the one that was intermediate now, but we're now moving away from. And the newer...
basically it's the same as it's the styled Squadron UI that was from the UI you have in the PU.
Right.
So what you have in the PU is these generic.
It's after they say it?
We've decided that we wanted to really scale that back to be more contextual to switch between modes. So that's one of the reasons why we're not really showing all the HUD and the MFD stuff now, is because we're in the process of the change. So it's, a lot of programmer art, and you even saw it in the Need for Speed segment, whereas a lot of that, like the mode stuff and everything, they've just sort of hacked in the modes to the current HUD stuff. But when the new one comes online, it should be much cleaner.
I bet the new UI animations look so good.
Clear on the video that we were seeing, but on the video we say we were originally in SCM mode,
Yep.
standard control mode, and then we switched to quantum mode. So the spool up wasn't really the spool up for the quantum boost. The spool up was just, there's a spool up as you go into quantum mode, your shield's powered down. So you there is some risk when you're in the fast traversal mode, and the quantum drive powers up. But once it's spooled up and you look at a place, you can boost towards it.
And it's just, you press shift and it's instant.
Yeah. And so for
Here it
people that
is.
want to, go, oh, what's that over there? People have been wanting to, I just want to like free quantum, right? There's people wanting to do
See?
that for quite a while.
It's like getting on your
basically is what
horse.
quantum
Yeah, see, I'm going to clip that.
Second start of the right and straight on till morning.
Because I need to be able to reference that. But he literally says it. He's like, the people who wanted to free quantum, this is it. So
there is
all
some
right,
risk
stop
when
it.
you're in
Stop it. So I think that's what this is. I think this is the coming again of free quantum mode, and I'm here for it. Let's go. So that's kind of like exploration. Oh, nice, Buckyton, you had it covered. Exploration is making a show here, and like very, very subtly they're starting to. We've always had to deal with combat and cargo and mining. Basically, it was combat, cargo, and mining all the time for years, right? Now we've gotten refueling this year. We got medical last year. We're getting salvage in 3.18. We're seeing engineering coming in possibly next year. Hacking is also on the cards for next year. And ship tractor beams. They're also kind of starting to talk about. Look at how many different professions are dropping in out of nowhere. And then now, along with that, exploration is starting to get some focus. These are like such small, subtle hints, but all of these professions are actually starting to be worked on. And after like 4 years, I want to say, from 2018 to 2021, of it just being combat, cargo, and mining, yeah, God, it's so nice. I haven't had anything that I really loved to do in the game besides trying all the things. So it's really, really nice to be seeing this stuff coming in.
1400 meters per second when you want to zip really fast over a planet. It also allows you to do quantum boost to quickly go between points.
So you make a good point, Witch Space. It would have been great if they had made it very clear that people were doing blind quantum jumps here. Although they don't
over a planet
necessarily. There's no label on this circle, so
also,
I don't know if it's in planet or what. But if it was a planet within 50,000 kilometers, you'd be able to see it, right? So I don't know. Brando, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. The first little thingy to pop up on YouTube today. Thank you. Lots of work. Bless those devs. Bless up. Thank you, CIG devs, for working hard. Even if your stuff sometimes doesn't come across the best, we appreciate these things.
It allows you to do quantum boost to quickly go between points of interest, which are rather close to you. And it allows you to travel long distances between planets.
Okay, so that was a space station. Mechanics don't mean much without the gameplay around them, but this is the gameplay, like, that's what we're seeing. So we got a panel about people who were trying to plan out the missions, right? Who were writing the fundamentals for how missions will fit into the locations. We got panels that showed those locations, space stations, underground bunkers, new city. We're getting a panel that shows how power supplies will link into those locations that missions can then tie into. And now we're seeing our travel methods and how those could also bring us to those new locations that we're seeing. Space stations, derelicts, new outposts and stuff. I think overall, the panels in this CitizenCon, while not doing the best on their own, all kind of painted a picture of how the different parts of the game will fit together. I think it would have been great to see something on the economy. It would have been great to see more on AI. And it would have been really nice to see a little bit more on the planned, I guess, cargo stuff. But it feels like all of these panels are kind of fitting together a little bit the more I watch them. But I don't know. It's just copium. I'm just huffing it.
And large-scale stellar objects. But it comes at a cost. Your capacitor systems are non-functional because they interfere with the quantum bubble that is allowing you to go fast. You won't have shields.
What about other people's shots?
Will collapse right away.
If your shots would interfere with the quantum bubbles, wouldn't other people shooting at you? You would have liked to see more on various jobs. Would have been great to have a hacking update. Yo, Uri, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Been digging the editing lately. Keep it up, dude. You haven't seen enough CCs mentioning that CitCon was light intentionally because of all hands on 318. Isn't that like, wasn't that understood? There's definitely a lot of work going into 318 right now, and they probably planned some of the panels around not having to take those people away, yeah. The voting was rigged, not all backers voted, and in 2014 he was promising on 100 systems. We only have one. Wait, what voting? Oh, you're talking to Witchspace. They asked the community back then if they wanted the limited scope or expanded. You voted expanded. There was so at the time that they held the vote, I think it was 70 something, 70 to 80,000 backers, and only 21 to 24,000, I think, voted. So it was definitely, it was like 1/3 of the current backer number. Is that right? 81,000 or so? I think that was right. No, that doesn't seem right. 2014. There are a lot more than that. It was a small amount of the community that voted. And that was probably the main drawback of it, is that the only people who got to vote were the people who were paying attention at the time. Yeah, I don't know what the original conversation is, so I'm not going to jump into that. There's been a shortage of copium lately. Withdrawal is real. It's nice to get some. You could always come here for your daily dose of copium. We'll go on and sprinkle it all over from your computer. Make you real happy with non-progress. You can't force people to vote, nor can you predict how much the community will grow. Yeah. I mean, geez, I don't think they probably didn't really like realistically grasp how big the community was going to get at that point, right? It's crazy. There's so many people now.
When you swap into quantum mode, your weapons will stop working because anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum bubble. Your countermeasures won't work, and you will also not be able to use thruster boost. So basically, all your capacitor and combat-related systems are turned off instantly.
When you switch between modes...
Okay, he shouldn't have said instantly. That's probably where all the confusion's coming from, right?
Your capacitor and combat-related systems are turned off instantly.
Because they turn off, but they still kind of drain. That being said, I can't shake the feeling that they should have done a better job of making it factor in systemically to the capacitors in any way. Yeah, force me to turn it off, but like, just have like a little UI pop up, like, quantum system overcharged. Everything else is going to shit. I don't know. I love the lore explanations. But the whole shields going down thing doesn't really bother me as long as they balance it well. If they make it so that people aren't going to be sitting ducks, which it sounds like they are, I mean, they have to balance this a lot. They have to work with us and test this and make sure to listen to feedback. There's a lot of great people in the QA and player, what's it called? The player experience teams that are going to say the same things that players are. And I think everybody realizes that if they implement this system and it's built in a way that does screw a certain player group over, whether that's the people who are racing or the people who are cargo hauling, they will have to respond to that. I think they're keeping that stuff in mind. I don't think that this is going to be the kind of situation where the system kicks on, everybody just starts dying, and they don't respond to that. I could see it going that way, where it starts dying, and then them making some changes, some tweaks to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think it's going to take a while for this kind of gameplay to get into a good state where it's actually going to be enjoyable. He looks like the Joker from Gotham. Kind of has a look, yeah. Wonder how long this will last with the death of a spaceman concept. And that's the thing. It's also, I think people are going to die a lot less than they think. Ships have can take a lot of beating, even with their shields off. And armor is going to end up being a thing. They even said in the power management panel that ships are going to be destroyed much less and disabled much more. And then I also think that it's important to note that they let you get up to pretty fast when you're in SCM mode. 500 meters per second you get up, and then you switch over. My hope is that your speed would start to rise as soon as you switch over. So there's going to be some very specific points that they have to make certain systems kick in here.
Right away, when you
I think if you balance the timing of all of this, how editable it is, can I make this period go faster if I have a higher, what's it called? A higher power plant, a faster rated power plant, a better quantum drive, a better cooling system. Would all of that help me make this period of time slower or shorter? I feel like there's just a lot of stuff here to go back and forth with on them as they balance this.
when you swap into quantum mode, your weapons will stop working because anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum bubble. Your countermeasures won't work, and you will also not be able to use thruster boost. So basically all your capacitor and combat related systems are turned off instantly.
When you switch between modes, there'll be a little period of time where everything has to spool up and change, so you will lose your
I would assume, Monkey, that if you're interdicting somebody, it also would, let's see. If you're interdicting somebody, you would be in combat mode, so you wouldn't be able to keep up with somebody, right? Like if you had to interdict someone, you'd be in SCM, so the person you're interdicting could just fly away at 1,200 meters per second until they get out of the, what's it called? The immediate area. What's wrong with this chat? So much hate. So much hate. I've never known us for being a hateful bunch. What's going on in chat? I don't think they should even start playing until drastically increased. Sure you are. Know how modding exists. Look it up, no lie, especially in a Perseus. I mean, I see some smart aleck comments, but I don't see any particular hate. But if you guys are being rude, stop it. We can argue and throw around some sarcastic stuff, but as long as there's no like name calling and stuff. They're getting on your case. You're gonna leave? Oh, all right.
Anything that's
Back into the
firing
video.
outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum bubble. Your countermeasures won't work, and you will also not be able to use thruster boost. So basically, all your capacitor and combat-related systems are turned off instantly.
When you switch between modes, there'll be a little period of time where everything has to spool up and change.
I am corrupt.
So you will lose your shields during this, you won't have your weapons during this, but you also won't be going fast. So there's a risk-reward element when you need to switch modes.
So it's going to be a very kind of conscious choice of what mode you should be in at any particular point. So if you feel under threat of someone that's close by, you're not quite sure what their intention is, maybe switch to standard control mode and be safe. Or you can switch into quantum mode and escape. And this is going to kind of bring in an element of danger and an element of risk.
Because going into the two different modes is like a systemic thing within the ship's items, we actually have the opportunity now to define ship roles that can block people from escaping, either using
It's also in the
devices
vacuum.
that suppress the quantum bubble, or devices that can effectively interfere with your ability to transfer between the modes. For example, specific ships like interceptors can be tuned such that they have a higher standard control mode speed, so they're able to catch up with people.
There you
Or,
go.
For example,
So they're going to allow for some decent customization. If you are the type of person who does not want to get into a fight, you can tune your ship to be faster right off the bat. That's really good to know that they're confirming that here. This is also... these conversations happen in a vacuum because we're not even considering how much things are going to change based on the law. Stanton is dangerous now because everybody's in it. But what happens when we also have Nyx, Terra, and Magnus? Magnus and Nyx are both systems that encourage the law and aren't as crazy hardcore as Stanton. You probably get some decent jobs there without being in a crazy pirate frontier land like Pyro. Whereas being in Terra, you might never even have to worry about this anyways. Having your shields off in Terra could be the default based on how little people actually want to commit crimes or how much people get stuck into the crimes they commit. They might, if a crime's going to take you more than 1 minute, you might not want to be there since the security's all over the place there. There are so many different layers to this conversation. It's kind of the problem of having them while this game's being made, as opposed to seeing it all at one point when they're like, okay, everything's in, talk about it. We have to try and figure things out before everything's in the game to support it. Yeah, Nyx probably after Pyro. And I know I threw in Magnus there, but we might not get Magnus. It could be Castra. One or the other.
Swap between the modes faster and more efficiently so that they could catch up with you, go into standard control mode and attack you more effectively as per the properties of their ship versus another ship which might not be as good at doing something like that.
It's something that's fundamentally
Talk is fun, yeah.
changed the gameplay experience for us. And this is working now, and we're playing it every day in the studio, we're refining it, we're tweaking bits here and there. But we're at that stage now where we're tweaking and balancing. And we've got the core features, it's there in the game playable. And the difference it's made on the game for us is it's basically night and day.
Because this.
What I'm wondering when he talks about that, them playing it in there, tuning it, balancing it, working with it, is how much of that is being done on the Squadron 42 environment side versus the PU side? Are you doing all of this with a bunch of Gladius and other small ships, or are you guys testing this with all the different ship combos? He doesn't go into that detail. I imagine they are, right? They're game devs. They're developing a game. But it would be nice to hear more specifically how this currently relates to Star Citizen and not just the Squadron 42 development stuff. This doesn't sound any different than how components work now. Nobody uses the speed components because they don't want to be vulnerable. What exactly do you mean by that? Like which part doesn't sound different? You heard Astropub talking about how Nyx is also a dangerous system, not Mad Max like Pyro, but still high security. Yeah, still not high security. It's a free system. Basically, they're mostly ruled by the United People's something. They are unaffiliated with the UEE. I have not seen the leak yet, Nizra. I'm avoiding it. They made it for Squadron and for Squadron. But look at them. They're flying around on, what is this, Daymar?
Change the game.
As good actively.
I think it's possible that he's talking about the player experience team right now working on this.
Now, and we're playing it every day in the studio. We're refining it. We're tweaking bits here and there. But we're at that stage now where we're tweaking and balancing. And we've got the core features. It's there in the game playable. And the difference it's made on the game for us is it's basically night and day.
Because the speeds have been limited in standard control mode, suddenly fights are a lot closer. The accelerations of ships similarly have been retuned a little bit, and their afterburner strength has been retuned a little bit to make it so that you can orbit around ships and have a lot more interesting maneuvering. And because the ranges are closer, maneuvers that would be performed by your ship have a much more significant impact because you're closer. So if I thrust up or down, you'll immediately see the difference. So similarly, things like capital ships effectively get a buff to their offensive capabilities with this change, because suddenly you can't orbit a capital ship at high range and high speeds. You have to get a lot closer, which will make the turrets much more effective at shooting you. Turrets become more important, and working as a group to attack capital ships is more important than it has been before.
This is a really exciting change because it allows us to keep the combat speeds relatively low, where we know that the gameplay is better for that, while also keeping the point-to-point travel speeds as high as they should be for PU.
Playing with master modes in Squadron 42 has been a lot of fun, simply because it's changed the entire combat experience. Before, you'd find that you were fighting at a huge distance. Now you find that you're in really tight, close combat with the other players. I think the biggest part of this is going to be when we have the larger ships interacting with the smaller ships. Once we can have battles with big capital ships and smaller ships, we'll have brought something to the Star Citizen world that I don't think has come out before, and I think it'll make a massive improvement to the game.
Having made these changes to implement master modes and rebalancing all of the ship speeds, we'll finally be able to define ship roles in the way that we've always wanted, and to bring a lot more variety to the gameplay that we haven't had before.
So it's been a really long journey here, obviously, because you've been a part of this journey. And we've tried many, many different things over the time to try and really create the experience we want. But the reality is, from us, it came down to what it always is in Sci-Fi, which is creating choice. The reality is, from us, it came down to what it always.
So this is the old HUD, right? This isn't even on the new flight system. I don't see the thing that denotes it, at least.
Always is in Sci-Fi, which is creating choice for the players. It's about giving players the option, and their choices have consequences. So with master modes, it really helps define the player choice in the game.
Is this Daymar?
So they're choosing to do combat. They're choosing to travel from A.
Looks like Daymar, but it also kind of doesn't. No, what are those yellow bushes? This is not Daymar. This is a Pyro 4? 2 or 4?
Somewhere.
I think.
Just giving players that.
Maybe it is Daymar. I can't tell anymore.
It's just it's a really magical thing, and we try many times to control that as designers, to try and get a specific experience at some point.
Definitely not Daymar.
We always end up coming back to the fact, let's
Pyro
just
2.
Give the players the choice and let them make the key decisions, and we'll design the balance around that.
We finally have it. So we're now nailing down the space combat experience for Star Citizen, specifically for Squadron 42. We know from internal playtest that the master mode stuff works. We know that it works with our flight retunings, and it's very exciting. It will yet take a while to ship this to the PU, because the amount of ships you fly in Squadron 42 is rather limited, whereas in Star Citizen we have about, more than 100 ship records at the moment. But the whole hard problem of designing this thing in the first place is over. We just need to get the numbers in now.
And all the footage you've seen today is from Squadron. It's all currently playable in the game. That internally, we're playing this every day. We're still making some tweaks, but everything is there right now. It's all about the foundational kind of tweaks that we're making, and we can't wait to get it in your hands.
So thanks a lot for listening to us today. We're very, very excited to get the changes to you as soon as possible. And we'll hope to see you fighting in the verse.
Squadron 42, robbing us of our fun. So that's a while out. That's unfortunate. Sounds like they're mostly working on the Squadron 42 side of this, and we won't be seeing these flight changes for a little while. But, I mean, I guess, okay, once again, my most interesting part of that is Quantum Boost, so I just look at this as like, when would I ever be able to use Quantum Boost? I was gonna say, but, I am super excited to know that at least by the time we do get this, maybe there will be more interesting space locations for us to travel to. But I realize that the main focus of this is the fact that they are changing the combat speeds. I think the idea of them separating the speeds is good, because that needs to happen. We like, the fights are just not that fun. At least for me, I feel like I never have a fun experience. That's probably because I also I suck. But also because it's just not, I don't know, it is too fast. So I like that they're separating the speeds. I wish that the faster speed would be a little bit faster. I think the most important part is going to be when they switch over the two modes, how that works. I'm very back and forth still. Ever since day one, I've been back and forth on how I feel about them forcing us into modes rather than encouraging us to make choices. That's always been what drew me to Star Citizen so much, this idea of like, what you do is what defines your success. How much you think about that, pre-plan for that, make choices that reflect those things. That's how you define your own experience. That kind of also is something that comes up when we start talking about the new skills system that they're gonna do. Something that we'll talk about a little bit later. Might be on the Q&A, I don't know, but though that focus with this game has always been really cool in my eyes, and I hope we don't start to see more and more modes and profiles and things forced rather than given as a choice. You're not upset about anything. You're in it for the long haul. In another 15 years, you might get a bit impatient. 15! Whew. It would probably be a while with or without Squadron. It's not Squadron's fault there are so many ships in SC. Yeah. But still, it would start earlier, at the very least. You fell asleep at CitizenCon? Nothing can make combat interesting at high speed. Except for high speed. I don't know. I got nothing. Does this mean that you can't sit immobile while trying to find your jump point? No. No, you can. Sounds like you can still sit still. You can choose the mode, but you can't choose what happens. So like, this was my problem with hover mode. Hover mode forced you into a mode rather than encouraging you to fly in a certain way. They actually scrapped hover mode, in my opinion, because of that same reason. I think they wanted to build something that was made more logical sense. So instead, they're going to make it work with the heat mode, the heat system, and say, you don't want to overheat your thrusters, so you can't fly like this for too long, rather than saying, hey, you're going a certain speed, so you have to fly like this in this specific way. And I think this sounds kind of similar to that. If only CIG had like 500 employees. If only. I can't wait for the star map rework either. Hover mode just sucked. Yeah, it kind of did. Didn't they already made a post you only lose 50% shield and the rest or something like that? I think that's if you are sitting at a certain, if your shield's at a certain level. Yeah, but we were talking about the different spectrum stuff they had said about these speed changes. Your theory is they can hit the vehicle archetypes in Squadron 42, then it's copy pasta. Scary. Scary to talk about copying stuff from Squadron to PU, because it's so military oriented. What's the hang up on skills? It's the same in real life. Tarkov in space. Yeah, that's kind of my thing, is that it is the same in real life. It's I don't really want to get into that conversation because I'm going to drag that out and I got questions to answer. Oh, actually, I don't have that many questions to answer. Okay. then how about I answer the questions here, and then we'll talk about the skills system a little bit. Let me just throw something in the background here for us to watch. Okay, so, oh, Nemesis, you can say whatever you like about the game. I'm not gonna judge you based on just that. The wait is terrible. Your father had a heart attack 10 years younger than his father, so if you have yours 10 years younger than your dad, you're going to... Oh my god. Jack. Well, my man, stay healthy. Stay with it. You'll be good. You'll be good, my man. You weren't around for hover mode. You do want something like it. Don't like how ships can levitate upside down. Yeah, so I think they'll figure something out with the heat system. If anybody is interested in supporting this channel or our family, and you'd like to, consider signing up for Patreon. With that, you will get exclusive videos every month that I make for Star Citizen that go into higher detail and have a little bit more like historical context. They talk about older developments and stuff like that. It means the world. Every person who signs up on Patreon, thank you for that. But that's where I kind of talk about this whole rework of hover mode and how it might be based on the heat system. I am excited for Pyro. I am. All right, so getting into the questions that we've gotten today, there aren't that many, so we'll get through these and then wrap it up. First, hi, do you love your wife? Signed, love your wife. I do. Hello, wife. I love you. Thank you for being the best mod, manager, scheduler, and editor ever. Appreciate you. You hope they put some thought into weight for cargo ships? They did. They talk about that a lot previously. Coffee Lot, you're mostly scared about skills becoming purchasable on the website. Oh my gosh. That would be wild. But at the same time, I always thought that the things that they're talking about skills doing were going to be part of the equipment, the loot, the armor, the weapons, the cybernetics, the stuff that you could find in the verse. I didn't think they would make it something that you earned through playing. But again, we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, hey Space T, do you know if there will be a specific mission in the future for bombing runs to use the A2 and A1, or are these purely org-based gameplay ships? I think there will definitely be gameplay based on them. We'll have missions that require us probably to take out ground targets like Spartans or convoys, trucks, maybe outposts, AA batteries, stuff like that. Who reads that out loud? You put it on there. You said it. Drazen, I think she has to be the best mod. Or else none of this happens. What are your thoughts on the speed changes? How do you think it will impact missile gameplay? Missile gameplay. Well, I think the missiles are kind of the one thing in question when you talk about running away. Because if you get dropped out of your quantum travel and you do get up to speed, let's say you're still 3-4 kilometers away, you get up to speed, the people are trying to chase you down but can't, they fire off a missile, which can, you don't have countermeasures. So maybe, gosh, this could be like a meta gameplay style kind of thing. What if you had to drop out of quantum, hit SCM, drop your countermeasures, and then drop back into quantum in order to get away from that missile? I know that sounds really cumbersome. I'm just wondering if that's going to be kind of like a meta strategy that develops because of this. They must have something in the plans for missiles, though. That does seem like a very easy way to get taken out if you're trying to run away. Missiles are getting reworked. They might make it so that missiles fly slower than most ships. An energy management system like Eve would work. That way the components you use determines how you had to fly. Put on a powerful afterburners and your power core runs out faster. That's like the, Ed, did you see the panel we were looking at earlier? They actually have a resource management system that they're working on that we did a review of. If you rewind in the stream back to about 30 minutes from the start, where that's what we're talking about there. If missiles fly slower, they're pointless. Why would that be the case? If missiles are still fast enough to outrun SCM ships, then they should have meaning, right? There's always already a special way. Alt F4. Yeah, I bet that'll work. That'll do it. There's a 30-second cooldown between switching. No, it doesn't look like it's 30. It looks about 8 seconds max. And I think there's probably still wiggle room for whether or not you can start using those systems before the cooldown ends. Maybe they can ramp them linearly, but like opposites. So as one rises, the other lowers, but you still have some access to that power. Missiles should be fast but short range. I guess you could do that, but at the same time, I'd want to be able to hit a missile at somebody from 5k out. Don't fly alone if you don't like to be attacked. I mean, what if you don't fly alone and both people get messed up? The escort, I think the escort thing is a good point. Everybody should be flying with escorts, but the fact of the matter is they're still going to have to balance this so that even if you have an escort party of 3 people, a group of 5 won't be able to take you out with some kind of a cheap tactic. Yeah, there's different ships, power plants, shield generators. There's a lot of stuff. And that's why I was wondering how much resource management might be able to factor into this system. How's a ship like the MSR going to hold up? Probably pretty well. It's a fast ship. I have not watched Avenger 1's video on this yet, but I'm going to have him on the podcast this week, so we'll have a good chance to talk about this in depth. And I'm thinking about also bringing somebody from the racing community to join us so that we can have 2 voices, the same 2 sides of the coin. Because this affects the racing community quite a bit too. Players just don't know how to use countermeasures, huh? You always thought there should be missiles that perform better in space and ones in atmosphere. That'd be an interesting choice. Don't fly alone if you don't want to be attacked, so solo play is not allowed now. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think solo players won't have as much freedom to travel as allied players. But you should also be able to protect yourself as a solo player. There shouldn't be a foolproof method to escape. Yeah. But then, if at the very least, countermeasures should be a possibility. There needs to be a defense against missiles, even if there's not a necessarily foolproof escape. I would hope that there's something you could do. If there's 5 people strolling for a kill, if you aren't ready to fight, you shouldn't be there. But what if those people are sitting outside Port Olisar? Avenger 1 has the biggest cheesy smile in his video. Do you think that the C1 will be faster than the MSR? I do. Actually, I don't. I don't know. The MSR is a blockade runner. It's got big thrusters. It probably should go faster. Maybe the C1 will have better atmospheric flight and acceleration. If they balance it right, there's a lot of ways to get away. Absolutely. That's why it's going to take so much balancing and work on this, and I don't think what they showed us here is going to be the final version of what we get. could launch countermeasures first, then switch to QCM. They probably won't even be able to get you yet. If you interdict somebody, they'll probably end up within a kilometer of you, and you wouldn't even be able to use missiles anyways, so the countermeasures would be a loss. But again, strategy. Maybe you have to wait for a certain moment to use your countermeasures. Somebody else has to wait a certain moment to launch their missiles. As long as they can run this simulation 50 times and we can see both parties winning pretty equally in different scenarios, I think it's a solid system. It shouldn't be guaranteed death, shouldn't be guaranteed freedom. Should go back and forth though. As soon as you tap that SCM button, you can use your weapons and CMs. Again, that's another question of balancing. So it's very possible that that is the truth. You can drop out of quantum, hit countermeasures, go back into quantum immediately. If you fly a fighting ship, then you show you want to fight. So a lone or in a group doesn't matter. But if you fly cargo or mining and you fly alone, it's an invite for pirates. What if you just like fly... I mean, that basically is... God. That basically means if you fly a ship, you're looking for a fight, right? If you fly a combat ship, you're looking for a fight. If you fly cargo or mining, you're looking for pirates. If you fly salvage, you're looking for pirates. There has to be some, like... People have to be able to be like, hey, I'm not an aggressive pilot. Star Citizen isn't a dangerous universe, but at the same time, there needs to be some balance to how people can and can't go around the game. If we can't have players in Terra just getting smacked back and forth for whatever reason. They need a realistic way to be able to defend themselves is all. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't allow it, but I do think that we should consider more than just the ship people are flying based on how they should be dealt with. Honestly, it would be nice to be able to know if somebody else's weapons are on. You get a little notification that somebody's powering up their weapons. I think that's a good way of knowing if somebody is aggressive. Off-topic questions like way off, but I started playing Star Citizen again and my starting money was at like 6 million. Oh, that's from the wipe earlier this year. Enjoy it. Until 318. Pirates always want to bully on non-combat players. We're all just people to be extorted, pay for an escort, or pay the pirates. The pirates are the escorts. Pirates should be basically impossible in Terra. I think that's the balance. Yeah, that would be good. It would be good if the security was high enough that the pirates weren't really a problem as much in Terra. Maybe if you start getting away from the planets. Maybe for petty crime, I think it would make more sense. Not so much murder and stuff, but like theft, extortion, smuggling, that kind of stuff I could see going on all the time. Don't want to fight, don't go to dangerous areas. Again, dangerous has some subjectiveness to it. Some people would call Stanton dangerous. Some people would call Nyx dangerous. Some people would call Terra dangerous. There has to be an expectation that's set by probably CIG in that aspect. But it's also not necessarily about people who don't want to fight. It just needs to be a balanced part of gameplay that I don't know. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I'm going to answer the next question. Is there any news on the Javelin? No. That's that's it. That was the last question. Oh, here's one asked on Twitch. You see a mistake about removing shields when in Quantum because if you open a contradiction Bible, interdiction bubble? I kind of like contradiction Bible. If you use a contradiction Bible and you fall in, you will not have shields up. Imagine if you have a Carrack, it takes about 50... Takes about 1 minute to make the shield go up. I wonder how they are going to handle that. Not exactly a question. But, you fall in, you will not have shield up. So in that instance, I do think that even though your shields aren't up in a Carrack, you have heavy armor and can probably take quite a beating to get away. Because that person who's using their interdiction shield either has to drop the interdiction to chase you or has to keep it on and fall behind. There are going to be a lot of gray areas. There are. You just want to confirm if a pirate lays a trap, shouldn't they have an advantage on their prey? I don't think 50-50 win rate is desirable. Yeah, I think they should have an advantage up from what they were going to have previously. But and that again goes back to the player choice. I'm thinking about, like, if you're driving down the road and somebody puts a spike trap down on the ground because they want to ambush you, they should have an advantage because of that immediate benefit. But at the same time, it should still be hard for them because they're still doing something super illegal in a not unmonitored place. So I think that they should be able to have an advantage based on what they did, but they shouldn't have an advantage based on the fact that they're simply a pirate that's trying to shoot someone. Like, if somebody just happens to interdict someone and they fall out of quantum travel, there should be more going into whether they kill that person than just, oh, I got them out of quantum, they have no shields, they're good prey. There should be a little bit of cat and mouse there. And if that means, allowing missiles to be that fast, but maybe allowing people to drop out of the quantum mode and use countermeasures real quick, that would kind of be it. Who's got the better strategy? Do you know when you should be dropping power, when you should be dropping countermeasures or missiles? I don't think it should be a one and done kind of thing. Kind of like how Elite Dangerous does it in interdictions. Like, just because you snagged somebody on interdiction doesn't necessarily mean you get them super quick. You still have to track them down and make sure they actually drop out and then commit all of the stuff that you need to do to them, whatever that stuff may be. Keep it PG. Yeah. 16 plus. We could say mature. Unfortunately, criminals have the advantage all the time because they decide when and where. Cops have the same problem with this in real life. That's why we go into and I was going to say that's why we go to a heavy police state. But that, again, depends on which system you're in. Just confused by your 50-50 win rate statement. The 50-50 win rate wasn't necessarily about pirates versus non-pirates. I'm looking at it's from like the gameplay part of it, not whether somebody is malicious or not malicious or testing or what. I just want to make sure that in a situation where two players can get involved in this together, there is enough balance in it that they can both outsmart each other and get out of it. They both have an equal chance of making the difference that needs to win the battle, I guess. Kind of like if you put a player in an Aurora and a player in a Gladius, I would expect that the player in the Aurora could do things to come out ahead. That's actually not at all the same. Scratch that. You can cancel QT to dodge interdiction anyways. So that's another thing. How is there going to be a way for players to share the locations of popular interdiction points? Is that data then that can be used by data runners and sold by data brokers? If so, how do we store those locations? How do we categorize them? How do we put them on our star map? There's like all of these questions keep opening more questions. It's questions on questions all the way down. If there isn't 50-50 chance, all will default to the higher win rate. Except piracy is going to suck. It's going to be so hard to be a pirate. Those points will be dynamic. I don't know. I think they'll be dynamic a lot of the time, which adds to the data running, but they still would be around for like a certain amount of time that people should be able to store them. save those locations. If you run a trade route 5 times a week, I don't think it will change that much between those 5 runs. Telling me you can't take out an entire naval fleet and win? Hey, you do you, cat. All right, I don't know how cats play. Y'all got a different way of gaming. Waiting for data management to hit the progress tracker. Yo, so is my MSR. It hurts. One of the pirates' orgs use a calculator. Do you need to use math to calculate interdiction points? Oh, you need to use them? Why can't you just fly? Why can't you just fly close to, like fly on the path to the planet from one popular spot to another? Well, Lady Space, I would say there's a difference between extortion and a good working relationship. I think it depends on who you're doing the business with, but but there are going to be groups, I think, that have much better working relationships that do essentially the same thing as an extorting pirate org. If you played Eve, you know why you can't do that. Shoot, I played Eve for like 3 months back in 2006, so I'll need a little refresher. The reason shields drop in QT is because capacitors interferes with QT. No, I mean, I know they said that. That's their lore explanation. I just don't think that's a great enough reason. For a game like Star Citizen that focuses a lot on like immersive sim aspects, this happens and therefore that happens. You shoot the wing, so the wing comes off. You shoot the tail, so the tail comes off. That feels like a little bit of a cop-out excuse. Your guns will interact with the quantum bubble, so you can't use them, and your capacitors, so you can't use them. It's like an easy way out of that. Moons and planets actually move? Oh. I see, you have to be in the perfect spot. That makes sense. That's fair. A lot of people's problems can be solved by hiring protection. This is intended gameplay to counter. I think that's true to an extent, yeah. You started with Eve, but tuned out, then discovered SC and haven't looked back since. A lot of people who liked Eve have checked out Star Citizen. QT bubble needs a lot of power. See, but then in that case, why would they not just tell us that you have to have a bigger power supply or else you're going to lose shields? That's my problem right there. They're explaining it in the lore, but it's not matching in game. If the quantum drive takes a lot of power, then I shouldn't be able to spool up I shouldn't be able to... I should, rather, be able to pour more power into my quantum drive that doesn't take away from my shields, right? I should be able to take out power from my lights, my life support, my weapons, my turrets, everything else, and pour that into my shields so that my quantum drive doesn't drain it. Otherwise, doesn't that mean that my quantum drive would also turn off my lights and my life support and my other components in my ship, my gravity, my thrusters? It's not super systemic. Let's get a working star map first. I'd love that. I wish we were going to see that at CitizenCon this year. Ships in SC do have different accelerations, yes. Would I like the lore better if the QT drives were just too power hungry? Yeah, I would. And if that showed in the resource management gameplay, that's exactly what I want. That's how they're doing hover mode. VTOL flight is limited by the heat that your system generates, not by the fact that they just want to limit the amount of time you can fly. I think that's the right way to do it. That's not true, but it also proves that how people How much money would you have to make to pay several players for escorts when each person can make 300,000 an hour working for themselves? Gonna have to find a good trade route. Discordia, yeah, you can link something in the server if you tag me. I might not see it tonight because I usually check out right after the stream, but I'll make sure to, I'll check it out at some point. A shield bubble within a QT bubble might interfere. Okay, god dang it. This song. Okay. A shield bubble within a QT bubble might interfere. Guess I could accept that. Still seems very easy. In fact, I'm so demanding. I'm the worst. Like, this is such BS. Just for everybody who's listening, like, at the end of the day, this stuff doesn't matter. I'm just explaining the way I would like things, but who cares? If it works, it works. You know, we just like throwing fusses for whatever. But I was gonna say, it would be nice then if you could turn on the shields and they would just cut off your quantum spooling, and then you'd have to figure out why that happened. But it's just getting ridiculous at that point. Having shields up doesn't draw power, only when they are charging right now. Right. They already said it will recharge when you go back to SCM quickly. Yeah, which is good. That'll help a lot. I still don't think it really proves their excuse for why it happens, but it is good for the people who are worried about not having shields. They can make it so that no power plant can supply enough power, and then it would make more sense. Yeah. That's all you had to say was, hey, the power plants don't work. And then in game, you could literally watch every player try to run the shields and the quantum at the same time, and it just not work. But that doesn't work. But it sounds like the whole idea is that the shields won't exist because the quantum bubble is there. In which case, all they need is a couple VFX or something to prove that. Double bubble. It reeks of gimmicky MMO trope and makes the flight system feel phony. They should let the system work naturally and tweak it from there. I'm actually realizing, is it the fact that the bubbles can't exist together, or is it the fact that the quantum mode can't power while the shields and weapons and stuff are on? What was the official... I don't even remember the official excuse anymore. I've talked so much crap about it. Let's go back real quick. Shh. I think it was here somewhere.
Combat, because that boost space is not spheric as it was before. You can boost the fastest if you're going
don't
forward
remember
on a straight
where
line, and
straight line.
Just to give you like a ballpark, quantum boost will allow you to go to a target fast ship.
The fact that there's no
And we have two
drawback
of
to
them.
using
We have
QT.
SCM, which is now relabeled as standard control mode, and QCM or QM for quantum mode.
The idea is that between these two modes,
Exactly,
we can,
Pharaoh. That's what I was saying. Like, this is all extra stuff. The reason that I believe in that is because that's how they've treated a lot of other things in this game. And it might just be that they're getting to the point where this game, where it's not worth building out systems and making them work naturally together because it takes too much time. They just want to, at this point, gamify it, get it out of the way, make sure it's something that works. And you know what? 10 years in, I can see why they feel the pressure for that.
strain the speeds in combat and also get all of the maneuvering, like high speed maneuvering and traversal mechanics that we had before, but in these distinct modes that are integrated with lore and integrated
Said
with
the quantum
ship
bubble can't
functions,
exist.
such that
Okay.
There's costs and payoffs for being in each of the two modes.
So let's start with standard control mode and what this means. So this is the mode that we intend to be the full
Energy management system.
For a longer period of time.
So we're thinking of this as some kind of energy management system. So you can go a little bit faster with a little bit more accelerations when you need to, but you know that it is a limited resource and you should use it carefully.
specifically the boost space is interesting for space combat because that boost space is not spheric as it was before. You can boost the fastest if you're going forward on a straight line, and you have a lot of debuffs when you're trying to boost backwards. That alone gets us a lot of interesting maneuvering space and variation in the day-to-day dogfight maneuvering.
SCM was before.
Importantly, you don't have your quantum drive available in this mode. The idea is that quantum is restrained to the quantum traversal mode.
The second mode is quantum control.
See, there's not really any explanation for why the quantum drive doesn't work in combat mode, but that doesn't really bother me. Like, that makes more sense, I guess, that you just don't have access to a quantum drive when you're doing combat maneuvers. I mean, kind of little hypocritical of me though.
Full mode, or QCM or QM. What this mode does is it unlocks your maximum velocity that your ship can reach. So when you were limited before to 200 to 300 meters per second, now you can go to 1200, 1400 meters per second, whatever your ship allows you.
During the development of the quantum mode, we realized we needed something that was a little bit more kind of about traveling large distances, but not the distances that you need to, spool up your quantum drive and travel across the universe. So we've created this feature called Quantum Boost, which is available in the quantum mode, and you can access it at any point. So at any point you want to kind of boost towards your location that you're kind of looking at, but it's just too far away. And this boost is available for a limited amount of time, and it's purely on a straight line.
Just to give you a ballpark, Quantum Boost will allow you to go to a target fast if it's within, let's say, 50,000 kilometers, whereas you will use Quantum Travel to do very long-range jumps between planets. So Quantum Mode allows you to go very, very fast with up to like 1200, 1400 meters per second when you want to zip really fast over a planet. It also allows you to do Quantum Boost to quickly go between points of interest, which are rather close to you. And it allows you to travel long distances between planets and large-scale stellar objects. But it comes at a cost. Your capacitor systems are non-functional because they interfere with the quantum bubble that is allowing you to go fast. You won't have shields. Your shields will collapse right away when you swap into quantum mode. Your weapons will stop working because anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate.
So yeah, it sounds like it's not necessarily the power draw that makes them stop, but just the fact that the shields interact with it?
Capacitor systems, large-scale stellar objects.
What does he mean by the capacitor system? I mean, does he just mean that like the capacitor system's charging take away from the other power, or the capacitor system's physical presence messes with the bubble?
Your capacitor systems are non-functional because they interfere with the quantum bubble that is allowing you to go fast.
Like, I'm not sure if he means interfere physically or electrically with the quantum bubble.
You won't have shields. Your shields will collapse right away when you swap into quantum mode. Your weapons will stop working because anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum bubble. Your countermeasures won't work, and you will also not be able to use thruster boost. So basically, all your capacitor and combat related.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Screw the excuse. As far as a game mechanic goes, I think it makes sense. It's going to take a lot of balancing, but I'm interested to see how it bangs out, and I hope they do a good job with it. Once a system gets up to speed for QT, the attackers can't catch up and apply damage. Yeah. That's the give and take of it. True for interdictors as well. When you go into quantum, you're charging the capacitors while spooling. It's hand wave, yeah. That's kind of the thing. I liked that at least not much in the game was hand wave. But they've been dipping more and more, I guess. It could go the other way and it becomes nearly impossible to catch something without interdiction. Charge of capacitors is the problem. They have to be discharged, and that is why nothing will work. So, okay, I see. So the electrical charge of capacitors is something that would interfere with the quantum drive. Hey, Axis. Skippy was here earlier, but he had to get going. All right, folks. So we were going to talk about the skills a little bit. How about we take like 10 minutes and discuss? Star Citizen skills are weird, I think. I think that I had a good talk with this with morphologists about this on the podcast. I think that the skills themselves are sketchy. The system as they've proposed it isn't super, like, it's not super crazy. It's not gonna like kill the game or anything like that. But it feels like a slippery slope, and it's like a slippery slope that's already expanding on something that I kind of thought was forgotten for the most part. The idea of having skills in the game treads very closely, I think, on the idea that your skill in the game is the determining factor of how good you are. So like if you go into mining and you know which mining tools to pick for which application or where to go for certain minerals, that's your benefit. That's your whole thing over other people. And it's something that you've learned, whether you bought information or learned information from your friend or looked up this stuff on a guide. Like, you put in that extra work as the player who just jumped in to go and do that thing. Same thing goes for something like exploration. They talk about how with exploration, if you know, what's it called? If you know the what are they called? The signatures of specific types of ships, whether it's a reclaimer or a javelin or a constellation, your memory of that ship is what affects how good you are at that exploration. What else is the case? I mean, they do this kind of stuff for things like cargo. If you get cargo that needs to be flown in a certain way, the fact that you prepared for that. I think they talked about, I guess with temperatures, how we might have cargo that does certain types of temperatures better. If you knew that going into it and you planned with that specific ship or system, it would be your knowledge and your self-preparation that caused you to be successful in that. What I worry about is that philosophy starts to kind of get taken away. Not necessarily that the skills ruin the game or take away any of those things, but the philosophy itself surrounding the game starts to get, it makes me a little more nervous about it. Not that my opinion matters. Again, for everybody who is watching, I'm just explaining the game that I like, not saying whether it's right or wrong. But it's weird. I'm not sure about that. I think that being able to carry something more than another player just because you are a carrier isn't the same as being able to carry something because you are a carrier and you prepare your character in that way. For example, I always thought that the way that we would be able to withstand physical blows to our head was that we would wear a helmet. Or the way that we would be able to not be affected by an EMP is that we had some sort of special armor on that wasn't affected by EMPs. Or maybe the faster you run is because you took some performance enhancing drug, or you have a cybernetic limb that you got when you ended up dying too many times. But now it's because you ran back and forth in a space station a lot and your skill level went up, a la GTA San Andreas, which, yeah, is a thing, but at the same time, now you're rewarding people based more on their time played rather than what they spent doing in that time. I guess not what they spent, because you're still running around. I always thought that the way this game would work would be that you would craft find, discover, and use things based on your knowledge of those things rather than just on repeating an activity. And I don't think either way is worse or better. I'm just saying what attracted me to the game and what I was really looking forward to with it, and how it works. And I think that both of these things could work, but we're stacking skill systems on top of skill systems, on top of reputation systems, on top of power management systems and item systems, and it does start to get really complicated. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. I didn't really prepare for that. I'll have something much better on this written out at some point. No character start is going to make your ability to plan, execute, or adapt as a player. If you can get crafting skill and level that up, then I can bake Totinos for your hungry guys. You're an OG MMO player and none of the skill stuff bugs you at all, but I could see the other side as well. I feel like this is more popular in MMO games, right? You don't mind skills too much, at least for things that are out of your game skill can't help. So you can't actually barter with AI on trade goods, but if you could skill up to save a penny, but there aren't a lot of things I'd like to see it applied to. That's another thing. Is this skill system going to impact the way that we talk to aliens? Is there going to be an alien communication skill? Because a bunch of people spent a lot of time learning the alien languages to get that leg up on other people. Here's a question. Will the skills reset when you die? I bet. Yeah. Pretty similar to the reputation system. Right, which is what I thought the reputation system was there for. The more you farm in game resources, the higher your spending level. But that's a very finite thing. That's like a thing set in stone, right? That's money. Money is money and there's no other versions of it. Why couldn't they work together? I think they could. But how much trust do we have in CIG stacking all of these systems on top of each other? Especially considering all the different things in this game you can do. I mean, for a fully fledged skill system, again, fully fledged not meaning that it changes all gameplay, just meaning that you can experience these skills in different forms of gameplay, whether that's your running speed, your reload speed, your melee speed, your ability to carry boxes. Those skills will have to branch quite widely, right? For somebody who maybe does farming, or somebody who maybe only goes into caves and wants to clamber faster. Like, that's a lot more skills to keep adding to player management. What if the minor skills up disappeared upon character death? Yeah, I think that'd be good. I think that's probably what they plan. People who have spent time learning alien languages just need a girlfriend. Linguistics is a thing. Right. So you see where that kind of starts to stomp on itself, right? You don't have to learn that language, just level up your skill. In which case, did they really need to make a whole language for people to be able to learn? If you have a jump skill real high, but then break your leg, will chances of being in the Space Olympics be dashed? Character stats make it that much more meaningful to die, especially with permadeath. They do. That is not wrong. You think the skills are only going to be for minor physical perks, but they were talking about things like, let's see, there was a Spectrum thread on this, huh? Spectrum, Citizen skills. They were talking about reload speed, your ability to hold your breath, run faster, jump faster. What's the idea of a soft skill versus a hard skill? You have a lot of trust their game devs? I mean, I have a lot of trust their management team, but their dates are constantly wrong by half a decade. The features that they say that we're going to get in certain ways sometimes don't come in certain ways. When they tell us that a ship is going to launch with all of its main feature gameplay, they don't. There's reason to trust them for game dev stuff, but this is more than just game dev. This is some freaking balancing stuff. Like, there's a lot. on top of the other systems that they're introducing. Somebody did make a thread that showed the different skills, I thought. Was it this one? No. You quit EDs because you didn't want to grind your face off for 2,000 hours, and you're a bit worried that this is what the skill system might turn into. You never know. That's another thing, is like, it starts out small, but again, this kind of talks about the philosophy of the game. Is that going to be changing? Should we expect other things to change from being personal skill-based to more progression skill-based? DayZ has soft skills. A lot of games have soft skills. It's not crazy. I want to make that super clear, everybody. I'm not saying this is a bad idea or that nobody does this. Please don't take this as an attack on the actual feature being bad or good. Just on how this changes the game, the idea of the game, and why it's necessary. We've already been on this track, this line for so long of the things that you acquire, the loot that you get, all that kind of stuff can help affect these things. We've seen cybernetic limbs. We've seen contact lenses that take the place of Moby glasses, like different things that already do these things. So I'm confused as to why. And I can't find this thread that shows the different skills. It was a mistake to announce skills without detailing the design. I think so, yeah. It was a weird way to announce them. It would have been really nice to have an ISC on it, or even a Star Citizen Live on it. The payoff to staying alive should be that you lose your stuff. That was always what I thought. You would lose a certain amount of stuff, and then some of it would be returned, some of it you'd have to pay for. I mean, they wrote the whole Death of a Spaceman article and never, ever acknowledged the idea that you might ever lose skills or player progress. And we've been going off of that same document for 10 years. Even gave an update on it like last year or the year before. We've never heard anything about skills, even though they once had an explanation of it. I think it was like 2014, 2015 maybe. So it's just strange the way that it has been introduced, given all the other things that we've been starting to get really used to. It's the tagline of SC. What's the benefit to staying alive forever? You get to keep your character. You get to keep their reputation. Like, reputation is something that you can build up, right? And lose over time if you die. Saying your player's body won't get more tolerant to temperatures over time. Is that for me? I don't think so. Not to the point where it doesn't hurt you. Not in these small amounts of time. I mean, if I go outside in 110 degree weather 5 days out of the week for 5 weeks, am I suddenly not gonna burn as much? CR is a great creative powerhouse, but I'm just not a big fan of when he gets up to say things. He can run things from behind the scene. What is the character? Is it just a skin? Yeah. Honestly, that was what they set out. Like when they told us about Death of a Spaceman, see, that's the thing. Like, these are once again expectations that they set. The characters were not super important. It was your imprint that was important. It was your reputation that you got with that. It was the life that you lived, the requirements you had, the insurance payments you'd have to pay, the fact that you'd have to give that to your offspring. Like, they gave us all these reasons for why Death of a Spaceman would work the way it did, and now they're like, oh, but skills also. Skills will be the reason that you don't want to die. I'm like, why set expectations like that then? Now I can't find this stupid thread. Get out of here. Get out of here. Freaking moths. Eventually your character dies and you play a different character in the family that gains the assets from your old character. But that's not good enough now. You'll burn less with more tan. That is true, but like your body itself isn't actually gaining any temperature. Like you can't withstand a higher temperature, right? You still get dehydrated. The burning thing is whatever. Maybe they threw out the skills system to generate conversation for the community. Maybe. It's a test. Your rep shrinks when you leave the game for a long time. Is that not a soft skill type thing? I think so. I actually missed what the whole definition of soft skill was. How do I hear that and not hear skills in that equation? With the Death of a Spaceman? Because they never said it. We got a Death of a Spaceman update a year ago, guys. 1 year ago. Why wasn't this mentioned then? I really don't want to know that this is something that they just came up with in the last year. And I know that Chris talked about it before, but like, I didn't think they were going through with it because they never talked about it during Death of a Spaceman. I was always under the impression that it was about the stuff that you found and you did for yourself as opposed to just skills that you could build up. Is it normal for web developers to reach out to you to assist with your Twitch? Not really. I don't think so. Not usually. People don't usually do that. Hope the skills are a completely hidden thing. No, they already said that it's all going to be visible on the Mobi-Glass. It'll be something that you can track, raise, check if you've raised it. It's very obvious reasons why that's enjoyable and fun and adds to the game. Being in a hot area for sure makes it so you can stand heat longer. Well, I guess I'm a wrong one about that. Body can fluctuate towards all sorts of environmental effects with exposure. Well, I lose that one. Your theory is that they were worried leaving the player character unimportant left Death of a Spaceman too weak? Perhaps. I wonder, yeah, maybe they decided that before testing it. If you want, oh my gosh, please go away, Moth. If you have one avatar die, will you not have to increase the skills on the second avatar? That's what it sounds like. I hate these bugs. How did it even get in here? For Death of a Spaceman, did they mention when you die you lose all your rep, or it reduces? It reduces, you don't lose all of it. You would just lose the rep because, like, you know, hey, you died. Might need to talk privately about that. I'm concerned I might have a scammer. I would just not talk to them. I would stay away from anybody who's just randomly trying to get access to your Twitch. I'll be going to have some dinner and hang out with my wife after this, so I'm not going to be around too much. But I would definitely, yeah, if somebody's claiming to be a web dev and they want to do something, if they're asking for like information that you're not comfortable giving out, I would just not do that. You can track your real life stats in 2022. Makes sense. You can do it 930 years later. It does. We aren't considering the negative impacts of skills. I thought that was going to be what we got from things like, I thought the negative impacts were going to come from things like the hunger system, the drug system, that kind of stuff. Is it? Okay. It's about time for me to go though, guys. It's been good. It's been a good talk. Ultimately, skill systems gonna be a thing. I don't really know. We'll see what they decide to do. I think they need to explain more and talk about it more with us. Ultimately, I'm not convinced. I'm open to hearing more about it, but it feels weird considering everything that we've learned about this game so far. But there's always new stuff to learn. It's always something you missed. Anyways, folks, I appreciate you being here with me. Thanks for talking it up. Thanks for sticking around and just doing some review of CitizenCon with me. It's good fun. I always enjoy it. I am going to send you all on to Meyer if you're on Twitch. Big ups to all of you. Thanks again for coming through. I'm sure plenty of you came with morphologists. If you haven't already, check out the podcast episode I had with him earlier this week. It's on my second channel, Space Tomato 2, where we talked about all this in a ton of detail. It's 2 parts. It's pretty solid. And then for you all on YouTube, I've got nobody to raid, but I will catch you all later. Thanks again so much for coming to this Monday stream. Or no, it's Wednesday, huh? Wednesday stream. I'll catch you all on Friday for something good. 318 testing is starting. Oh, really? Did it get announced for Evocati? Was that a thing? Guess they wouldn't make that announcement. Somebody else would. Either way, I hope that's true. And I will see you all on Friday. Have a good one, folks. Catch you later.